Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto's world was destroyed, and he went in a different world and found beautiful women, and got harem, part 3. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, 1949 renminbi. Link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. Let's begin the video. What is your report, Professor Hamilton? Spoke a black woman wearing a blue suit from one side of the round conference table. Ms. Waller, Hamilton spoke up, giving her his full attention. Department heads. 3 days ago one of Cadmus' facilities was breached. Nouveau Gen, which developed a clone of Supergirl, for us to be specific. Standing, Hamilton grabbed a remote before turning the screens around the room to the security footage of his lab at SDR. This man here, he said, gesturing to Naruto, is the one responsible for the breach. What we have been able to find out is limited at best. One of the others at the table spoke up. How do we know it was him? The security footage at Nouveau Gen was destroyed by the clone prior to the fight. For all we know, it could have been Supergirl herself. General Eiling, Hamilton says, facing the man. Supergirl has an alibi. She was seen by our spy on the Watchtower while the fight was taking place. Our spy confirmed this man returned to the Watchtower looking quite the worse for wear. Pressing another button on the remote, it flashed to the Justice League file on him. Our spy has managed to procure information on who he is. As per all League files, his civilian name is actually stored in a hash value, so it is unretrievable. However, his hero name is Shinobi. His abilities include wind manipulation, rapid healing, super speed, and strength augmented by a bioelectric energy field he can control. Bioelectric energy field? Waller asked with a raised eyebrow. Nodding, Hamilton continued, yes, according to the files he was able to retrieve for us. This field he is able to control is similar to what some of the readings we get off of Tala, gesturing to the purple-haired woman wearing a very revealing dress for the meeting. So this man is a sorcerer? That would explain how he was able to best A, Tala asked, and then hypothesized for the others. No, he is not a sorcerer, Hamilton addressed her question before continuing. As I said, it is similar. However, it is vastly different from application use according to League files. We believe its similarities allow this energy to harm, but further study must be done. Also, his list of experiences was actually saved via hash value, as well, which is not normal practice for League files. Thank you, Professor Hamilton, Waller said, standing, while he sat down. What we must figure out now is who this man is, what his intentions are, and if the League has finally turned. Walking to Hamilton's seat, she took the remote from the man before pressing a button switching the screens. All of our projects have failed miserably in the past. Different weapons created by Cadmus showing on the screens, all failing to best the League, all showing what the people in the room feared most. The League had the potential to take them out and expose the world. So far the League has claimed to be benign, working in the best interest of the world. However, with an attack against one of our probably our best chance against Superman. My belief otherwise has been proven further. I have spoken with the President at great lengths the past 2 days on the actions he wishes to take. Moving to what could be considered the front of the room, she spoke to the other 4 in the room. We will enlist the only successful Cadmus project. Pressing a button, the screens all switched to one man's face. More specially, a man in a black and bronze mask with one single eye on the bronze side. Hello again, Ms. Waller. General Eiling, it has been far too long. The man's cold voice rang out behind his mask. Deathstroke, Waller greeted the man. I believe you have had ample opportunity to look over the information Hamilton sent you. The mercenary named Deathstroke chuckled at her question. My, you insult me, Waller. His condescending tone rang in the ears of the assembled heads of Cadmus. Yes, I have managed to look over your pathetic excuse of a dossier. And Waller asked, her patience running thin with the man's antics. If he wasn't the best we have, I would have platoons of special forces looking for him around the clock. Arrogant prick. I find your lack of imagination when dealing with these metahumans who parade around in spandex lacking. You fear people with obvious weaknesses that make them almost laughably easy to kill, he said, mocking the gathered men and women. Then why haven't you killed any of them? Waller asked with a raised eyebrow and a smirk. Also, why do you keep bothering Batman's old sidekick for that matter? Deathstroke's eyes narrowed dangerously. I choose not to kill them because never once have they hindered my missions. Never once have they hindered my goals. As far as Nightwing, well, that is my personal agenda. Walking around on his end of the video call, he spoke again. Actually, they tend to help more than they hurt. Like currently, he moved the video feed to show a man dangling from a rope around his neck, feet barely balanced on a chair. He swiftly kicked the chair out from under the man, causing him to hang. Like this job, for instance, it would have gone to Deadshot. He is far less expensive than I am, however, due to his stint in prison for that bank robbery a while back. Well, you get the picture. Turning the feed back to himself. Part of me is because of you, and for that I will give you a discount. General Eiling was outraged by the mercenary's audacity. How dare you, he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. Standing, he pointed his hand at the mercenary. You should be doing this for free. We made you. You are our soldier. Never forget that. Slade Wilson, glaring at the general with his one eye. As I said, General, you made a part of me. I did all the rest. Turning from the general to Waller, Deathstroke spoke again. $200,000, and I will deliver his head to you. That isn't what we want, Waller said. 25,000. We want information. Who he is, what he is truly capable of, and any weaknesses he might possess. Slade smirked under his mask, letting a dark chuckle escape his throat. Very well, Ms. Waller. You shall have your information in time. The video link cut, and the gathered heads of Cadmus remained in the silence of the room. Welcome back, Master Wilson. A posh English voice speaks out to Salda, as he enters a very large mansion. You have returned quite early from your stay in Jump City. Might I inquire as to why? Slade chuckled at his butler and longtime friend Wintergreen. I have someone new that has piqued my interest, Slade remarked. Someone Cadmus wants me to look into. However, he could prove more fruitful than Nightwing. Wintergreen nodded and asked, who might this person be? Slade handed over the dossier that Cadmus had provided. I do believe I find this as lacking, as you did, sir, Wintergreen commented dryly after reading the pathetic amount of information located in it. Both shared a slight smile before getting to work. Entering his office, which was more like a war room, the two sat down at terminals and began to hunt down any information on Shinobi. It took hours, and what they had managed to find was laughable. This is quite an interesting, Master Wilson, Wintergreen said, drawing Slade's attention. Unlike other members of the Justice League, this Shinobi doesn't have a city he protects off his rotation. Also, from what I have been able to see, all the missions he's been on, never once is he alone or without a senior member. Slade mumbled out, rubbing his chin. This is definitely more interesting than what Cadmus believes, Slade thought before asking his butler a question. Wintergreen, do you believe the Justice League has created a weapon, or are they trying to curb someone's natural nature? Wintergreen looked at Slade with a questioning face. I am not sure I understand the question, sir. Slade nodded before pacing around the room, speaking to his friend. The League has been run almost 100% by Superman. There have been instances where Batman overrules him and the other League members, but Superman is in charge. A man who won't kill, who believes in second chances. A Boy Scout if I have ever seen one. So why would they suddenly unleash a weapon? Wintergreen finally got what his master meant. They have found someone like you. They are merely trying to turn his nature then. Slade nodded, moving back to a terminal before hitting a few buttons, bringing up the pictures of the remains of Galatea Cadmus took before scrubbing the facility. Now the final piece to the puzzle. Why did he kill the clone? Sir? Wintergreen asked once more, losing Slade's line of thought. He's been with the Justice League for over a month, been on 5 missions from what our sources can tell us, but never once has he killed. Instead, he's maintained the League's stance on detaining. Then when not on rotation, he shows up in SDR labs. Then at Nouveau Gen, alone, something that hadn't happened in a month, kills the clone. Quite beautifully, and viciously if those remains are anything to go by. But why? Slade finished, and once more Wintergreen was caught up. More surveillance then, sir? Wintergreen asked Slade, who nodded. Yes, my old friend, we will find out everything we can about him, Slade said before standing. I want you to update the dossier for Cadmus with more basic information, and keep them just barely in the loop. This man is now my target, Slade said, as he walked out of the door. Naruto so far has been having a decent day. He stopped a jewelry heist with Diana before she left the Watchtower, and now he was sitting down to the greatest lunch in the world. Finally, he mentally shouted, they have ramen. Oh yeah, today is gonna be a great day. Kurama sighed. He'd been hoping the League would not buy the noodles for the blonde, but figured after constantly begging the Martian, he finally relented. Please shut up about the ramen, Kurama asked, annoyed that the breaks from ramen induced instantly were now over. Screw you, Naruto said back to the demon. I had to go like a month without ramen, first because of that stupid toy guy or whatever, and my rotation started like a week later. Sighing, Kurama resigned his fate to listening to the constant chanting of ramen. Why couldn't he have picked up a different quirk? Being late all the time is not that bad, is it? But no, he had to get ramen, and Naruto devoured his ramen like he hadn't eaten in months. 30 bowls, 24 astounded cafeteria workers, and 50 surprised later, Naruto was finished. Dude, Flash said, pointing at the empty bowls on Naruto's table. Where do you put all of that? I mean, I thought I ate a lot because of my metabolism, but damn, Flash both asked, and exclaimed, surprised at the blonde's appetite that has never been shown for anything else. But this. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. I like ramen, Flash. And over half the cafeteria sweat dropped at Naruto's statement. You can say that again, a familiar female voice said next to Naruto. When he turned to greet Kara, he was surprised to find her reading one of the Ika books she took from his house. Ah, Kara-chan, Naruto started. You aren't really supposed to read those out in the open. Kara looked up from her book and regarded the blonde-haired shinobi with a look. Didn't you say the other day your sensei used to read these in public all the time? Kara asked, and Naruto started to regret mentioning that. It was the morning after Naruto's fight with Galatea. The doctors were running a few last-minute checks before releasing him. As promised that morning, standing and stretching the kinks out of his muscles, he made his way out the door and to his room. The walk was a slow one, but that didn't bother him. It wasn't like he was in a rush. Reaching his room, he was about to open the door until he remembered something. Turning around, he knocked politely on the door across the hall from him, and it only took a second for a mop of platinum blonde hair to come into his vision, but the face was obscured by an orange book, one he was quite familiar with. Man, Kara-chan, if you keep this up you're gonna be as bad as Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said, breaking her out of the book. Raising her blushing face, Kara smiled at Naruto before throwing her arms around the fellow hero. You're out. I am so glad you're okay. Naruto laughed, and returned the hug lightly. You bet, Kara-chan, Naruto said, pulling her away from him. But seriously, soon you're gonna be reading that in public just like my old sensei did. Kara shrugged her shoulders. Is that a problem? She asked with a smirk before adding, because I know a few of the women up here would love to get a copy. Naruto was about to retort to the problem of her reading it in public, but stopped dead in his tracks at what she added on. Come again? He asked, believing his ears to have failed him in what he heard. There are quite a few heroines up here on the Watchtower who want a complete set of your books, Kara said with a devious smirk. Naruto slowly, very slowly processed what she said. And how, pray tell, do they know about them? He asked, raising an eyebrow at the girl in front of him, which of course caused her to blush. I sent the first one to Barb last night, who made a few copies of it before sending it back to the Watchtower, Kara said, nervously rubbing the back of her neck. And well, one thing led to another, this woman leading the copy to that woman, and well, half the heroines want a permanent set of your books. Kara finished, and all Naruto could do was blink olishly at her, which only lasted a second, before he fell on the ground laughing, and saying something in Japanese. All she could make out was Erosen and not sure what it meant. Yes, I did say that, Naruto said after remembering their conversation from 2 days ago, but that wasn't permission to read it out and about. Kara just gave him a look before placing it on an empty spot at the table. So what you up to today, Kara-chan? Naruto asked his friend. She gave him a look before nodding to herself. I have been looking for you. Naruto pointed at himself with a questioning look, and asked, Me? She nodded at him. Yes, you. Blinking at her, he once more asked a question. Why have you been looking for me? Kara smiled brightly. Because, she said, leaning in closer, you are going to take me to dinner in Metropolis in 3 weeks when our rotation ends. As a date. Naruto was definitely confused, this being the first time ever a female has asked him out. Meanwhile, Kurama was laughing his ass off. You poor bastard. We all told you it was coming, but did you listen? Nope. Naruto turned the demon's rant out, and focused back on the blonde in front of him. Gulping down, Naruto stuttered out, But Kara-chan, I have never been on a date. I will just mess it up. We can't go out. Kara just smirked at him. What do you call that lunch we went on after the ramen factory was attacked, followed by sightseeing? Or dinner at our farm before your first rotation? Or a few days ago when we were cuddled on your couch? I told you, dumbass. Naruto sighed before looking back at her. Are you sure it is a good idea? I mean, I did just, also killed a lot of people before that, blood-stained hands, and the like, Naruto said, trying to talk her out of it. He cared for her, but he did just kill someone who looked like her without a second thought. And all the lives he's taken before coming here, he didn't feel right dating her. However, Kara was determined, and not deterred by his recent killing of her double, or his past life. She knew the kind of man he was, and that was all that mattered. Standing, and pointing her finger at him, Kara practically shouted at the blonde Naruto Uzumaki, You will take me on a date the first night our rotation ends, and you will like it is. She finished off, emphasizing every word in the last part of her statement by poking him in the chest each time she said one. Yes, ma'am, Naruto responded, to which Kara smiled before grabbing the orange book and leaving the cafeteria giggling to herself. While Naruto looked around the cafeteria at all the amused faces, Can anyone please explain to me what just happened? He asked, frantically looking around for help from anyone. That was until a voice spoke up from behind him. I believe the little lady just demanded that you take her out. Naruto turned around to see Green Lantern, who had spoken with Vixen next to him, each holding trays. Hey there, John, and Naruto started, but failed when he didn't know her name. Vixen, Naruto. You can call me Vixen. Naruto thanked her before continuing. So she asked me out then? Naruto confirmed with the couple. Sugar, Vixen said with a knowing glance his way. That wasn't a question, that was a demand. One you'd best live up to, she finished with a wink before heading to another table with Lantern. What the hell was with that wink? Naruto thought until he saw sticking out of her bag an orange-colored book. Slamming his head on the table, Naruto grumbled out, Kami. A loud banging could be heard. Hammer against metal, as an overly large man worked his magic on the anvil below him. He was stout, with thick dark locks, shirtless, and hairy. A fire hotter than hell itself burning brightly next to him. So absorbed in his work he failed to hear a man enter his domain. "You said come back Tuesday, and it is Tuesday. I want my suit." An even taller man with blonde hair, wearing a full suit of Greek armor said, his tone filled with aggravation. "Patience, brother," he spoke, turning to face the blonde-haired man. "You know how I care about the details." Giving the working man a look, the blonde-haired man spoke up again. "It doesn't have to be pretty, Hephaestus. Where it's going it won't be pretty." Hephaestus gave a sly grin. Present company excluded, of course. The blonde just rolled his eyes, stopping his pounding, and revealing a chest plate. Hephaestus moved to the burning fires. Grabbing a glowing iron rod with his bare hand from the fire, Hephaestus moved back to the plate, placing it directly on the armor, just adding my finishing touch. Pounding the rod once with great force before pulling it away. A volcano with fire brimming from the top scorched into the plate. Grabbing the plate off the anvil, he moved past it, the blonde following him. Arriving at a mostly completed suit of armor, Hephaestus placed the chest plate into it, completing the suit. "The Annihilator," he exclaimed excitedly, "heartless, indestructible, and ready to feed off men's rage and darkest desires." Turning to face the other man, he spoke once more. "Go ahead, Ares. Give it life." Ares smirked before turning to face the suit. Drawing his sword, Ares sent his god powers into the blade before slashing it downward. A streak of red launched from the blade, giving the armor life. Quickly rushing forward, Ares tested the suit in a short duel. It quickly overpowered him with its incredible strength. "Enough," he shouted, stopping the Annihilator's onslaught. "Wrap it up, I'll take it," he spoke with glee and an evil smirk. Sounds of gunfire could be heard, as men ran to cover, shooting at the lumbering suit behind the cover of downed cars and building debris. One lobbed a grenade at it, hoping to stop it in its tracks. The small explosive detonated, barely causing the armor to budge from its path, walking forward with purpose and destruction. Another man grabbed a rocket launcher before taking aim and firing. The rocket flew true and right, but before it hit the Annihilator, it grabbed the missile out of the air, holding it for a moment before hurtling it back at the men behind a car. All of them scattered before it hit the explosion, destroying the metal cover. "Impressive," a dark-haired man said with an Eastern European accent. The Annihilator approaches both him and Ares. "Isn't it?" Ares asked, condescension clear in his tone. The suit stopped just in front of the two, the dark-haired man stepping forward and around to get a better look at the machine. "I had heard about advances in weaponry," he said, feeling the suit up and down, marveling at its powers. "Where did it come from? Who built it?" he asked, turning once more to Ares. "Ever heard the expression, 'Don't look a gift horse in the mouth'?" Ares asked his companion, who in return smirked. "Ah, classified. I have already taken the liberty of imprinting it to your voice commands," Ares spoke, approaching the man. "And suit, now the only question, Mr. Nardak, are you interested?" The other man regarded the suit for a minute before turning to face Ares. "Of course. Anything to protect us from those dogs in the south. But my Sriya, you know how little money we have." Ares smiled before placing a hand on Nardak's shoulder. "We can worry about that later." "You're joking," Nardak exclaimed with shock filling his eyes. Never before had anyone offered something so powerful without wanting something in return. Releasing a small chuckle, Ares spoke up. "No, I trust you. And it's not like you're going anywhere?" Nardak smiled before nodding, and turning to face the Annihilator once more. "No, not with this weapon's help." Commanding it to follow, Nardak walked away from Ares, who stood smirking. Alarms were blaring in the background, as two robbers ran from a bank, bags filled with money. "Come on!" one of them shouted to the other was further behind, firing to keep the police down. Both finally made it to their getaway car. Throwing the money into the back, they sped off at high speeds. "Man, the perfect getaway!" the driver shouted out, both smiling. That was until they saw a woman wearing white pants, a black shirt, and blue jacket standing in the path of their car. The driver smirked before stepping on the gas, propelling the vehicle fast. "Roadkill, bitch." Coming up. However, right before the car impacted her, the woman raised her arm and brought it down in a devastating punch, denting the hood and bringing the car to a complete stop. Both men, unprepared for this, went flying through the windshield due to a lack of seat belts being used. One went crashing into a bus semi-conscious, the other landing on top of him completely knocked out. "I tried to take a day off," the woman spoke to the still conscious one, who realized the woman before him was Wonder Woman. "But no, you just had to rob a bank," she spoke out threateningly. Moving toward the downed robber, he tried to escape from Behen with partner. Unable to escape, he drew his partner's gun and began firing. The ever-prepared Amazon used her braces to deflect the bullets. It didn't take long for the thug to run through the clip. By the time it was empty, Diana was right on top of him. As a last-ditch effort, he attempted to throw the weapon at her until she spoke up. "Really? Like that's going to work?" Reaching down, she grabbed him by his collar, pulling him up and freeing him. "Wait," the robber frantically said. "Please, I have learned my lesson. Bringing him closer to her face, she glared at the man. No, you haven't. Spinning around, she grabbed the man with both arms before hurling him back to the vehicle, landing on top of it with a resounding crunch. Diana leapt the distance and landed above him in the car. Your kind never learns. Pulling her fist back, Diana planned to finish the thug off, and it's really starting to get on my nerves. However, before she could launch the finishing blow, John spoke up to the communicator. Diana. Diana responded, angered by the interruption. Not now, John. However, the Martian was not deterred in any way, and spoke louder. Diana. What? She yelled back into her communicator. I am not finished here, she shouted back at the Martian. I would say you are. Looking down, she saw the man drooling, completely passed out. Sighing, Diana dropped the robber before taking flight. Diana was flying through the air inside of her invisible jet, the one she kept from Owlman back during the quantum bomb fiasco. John on the communications monitor. Queen Adrena of Kasnia has asked the League for help. Diana raised an eyebrow at John. I thought the League was to stay out of conflicts between countries. That is per our charter with the UN. Why are we getting involved? John nodded in affirmation to her statement about the charter. True, we cannot involve ourselves with wars. John spoke, knowing the charter backward and forwards. However, the Queen has been given information of a powerful new weapon that could threaten to escalate the war further. In the preservation of her people, she has asked us to intervene. I see, Diana said, eyes narrowing. Why is their first answer always violence, John? Diana asked, aggravated with the affairs of man's world. All John could do was raise an eyebrow at that statement coming from the warrior princess. Before reaching Kasnia, you need to make a stop. Nodding, Diana saw the coordinates appear on the navigation system. Hawk and Dove, she asked John, surprised he would choose them as backup for this mission. They are the best choice, John informed her. Dove might be able to assist in talking the two leaders down. However, in the event force is necessary, Hawk can provide the assistance needed on the battlefield along with Dove. Finding the Martian's logic to be sound, Diana nodded before ending transmission. Naruto was bored out of his mind, and Kurama's rant about listening to him more outside of battle wasn't helping. Man, I wish there was something to do, he thought, making his way to the monitor overlook, hoping a mission was available, and if not, he could always spend more time with John. While many of the heroes on the tower respected John, few had befriended him, as well as the original 7 members. It irked Naruto that so many of them listened to and respected the Martian, but would barely even carry on a conversation with him outside of missions. Reaching the monitor outlook, Naruto leapt up to the perch above the teleporters. What's up, Marv? Naruto asked John, using his coin nickname, attaching his feet to the railing with chakra. I believe the agreement was that if we brought ramen to the Watchtower you would refrain from calling me that, John said with a hint of amusement in his voice. Oh come on, Naruto whined. It's not that bad of a nickname, is it? He asked, and all he received from John was a deadpan look. Fine, Naruto relented, pouting. Normally the blonde wouldn't give up so easily. However, John was the one to bring ramen to the Watchtower, and he felt indebted to the Martian. As for your question, John said, no current missions need your support. Naruto nodded before hopping off the railing he was perched on, and grabbed one of the chairs next to John. Pulling a notebook from nowhere, he began to write in it, and giggled periodically. Might I inquire as to what you are writing? Naruto looked up from his work before smirking. You could inquire, but that doesn't mean I will let you know, he said, smiling at the alien who nodded in return. True, but John continued, pulling a small orange book from behind his cap. If I were you, I'd worry about Superman finding out you let Kara start handing these out around the Watchtower. John handed the book back over to Naruto, who took it, chuckling sheepishly. How did you know about them? John smirked slightly while answering. Stargirl's stepdad found it in her room. Read a few pages, and brought it to my attention. Naruto ohayed before rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. You're not going to tell Clark, are you? What you write is none of my business, and what the female members of the League read is up to them, John said with a shrug of his shoulders before turning back to the equipment. And just in time, as Diana made an emergency call. John, she shouted at her friend, we need emergency backup now. John, however, needed to know what was going on before sending someone unprepared into whatever was happening in Kasnia. Diana, what is the situation down there? Has the weapon been found? He asked, hoping to get answers fast. We found it, John, she said, breathing heavily. The sound of flesh hitting metal was heard over the communicator. Ares had a suit of armor created, indestructible, and powered by human rage. John was shocked for a moment that one of Diana's gods would do something like this, until his memory sorted out that Ares was the god of war. But something was nagging in his mind about the request for backup. If it is powered by rage, why are you still fighting it? Diana yelled a war cry on the other end, and once more the sound of flesh hitting metal was heard. We did that, and it powered down. However, Ares wouldn't leave well enough alone, and powered the suit somehow before disappearing. Naruto stood before making the leap down to the teleporter. I should be able to stop it, John, Naruto said, reaching the teleporter pad. Send me down, Naruto told him. And right, as John pressed the button the teleporters failed. Blue light sparked over the console, and lights above and below the pad dimmed before going out. John quickly spoke over the communicator. Diana, the teleporters just went down. We will get them up, as fast as possible, but I need you to hold out, as long as you can. Diana was breathing heavily through her link. We will try, John, hurry. Wintergreen, Slade said into an intercom in his training room. Prep the Osprey. We are leaving 20 minutes ago. Slade ran from the room, phone dangling from its cord. A discounted tone could be heard beeping. Grabbing gear, as he went through the mansion, Slade made it to the staging site below his house where his plane laid to rest. AV-22 Osprey, designed for standing takeoff, but this held a modification. Instead of propeller engines, his version had 2 jet engines capable of reaching Mach 2. Wintergreen was already in the cockpit starting the plane up, as Slade entered. Sir, he questioned, as Slade took over the controls, and the plane jumped up through the still opening doors above, barely making it through without scratching anything. Cadmus' spy reported that Shinobi was being sent down on a mission to Kasnia. They tripped a set of breakers on the teleporter to buy us some time. The two of them took off at top speeds to reach the war-torn nation in time. It took John longer than he would have liked to fix the issue with the teleporter. Diana, we have it fixed, John spoke out to his friend. However, it still needs time to build up the energy to transport. You need to hold out for another 5 minutes. I don't know if we can last another 5 minutes, Diana said, completely out of breath, exhaustion evident in her voice. But John could still hear the sounds of her, and the other 2 heroes fighting against the armor. Both John and Naruto stared at the timer, urging it to go faster. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the lights brightened up to full spectrum, and the small hum was heard. Hitting the button once more, Naruto was whisked away in blue light. Arriving at the battlefield just slightly behind the 3 heroes fighting the behemoth of armor, Naruto ran forward at almost full speed. Jumping over the 3 in front of him, he delivered a devastating drop kick to the machine, pushing it back. You guys alright? Naruto asked, turning to them slightly, keeping the Annihilator in his peripheral vision. Shinobi, Diana exclaimed, relieved. Barely. We are all exhausted. The other 2 voiced that, as well. So far we have hit it with everything we have, and hardly even made a dent. Originally the armor was powered by rage. However, when we got the fighting to stop, Ares was not pleased. He powered the suit, and commanded it to kill all of us. Nothing has been working in our attempts to stop it. Naruto nodded before, regarding the armor moving into a fighting stance, he asked one final question to the princess. Ares is the god of war, correct? Naruto inquired. Yes, Diana said, nodding. But what does that have to do with anything? Naruto didn't bother responding, opting instead for rushing the armor. Just in time, Master Wilson, Wintergreen spoke, as they flew overhead. Their belly camera picks up Naruto's rush at the armor. Slade nodded before setting the Osprey down on a hill overlooking the battlefield. Grabbing his long-range spying equipment, Slade headed for the door, with Wintergreen following. Naruto reached the armor in no time with his impressive speed, and landed a double punch to the behemoth. However, he was shocked to find out that even his chakra-enhanced punches did little more than blow some dust that had built up off. The Annihilator, seeing the new threat, tried to backhand Naruto, who ducked under the blow. Bringing a Rasengan to bear right into its chest, Naruto was able to lift it off the ground before it was propelled back by the force of the attack. As the Annihilator hit a building and crashed through, Naruto was able to catch a small glance at the impact site from the Rasengan, and noticed that it didn't even dent the metal. Well, I guess when a god makes something indestructible, they go all out, huh? Any ideas? Naruto asked his longtime partner. Wonder Woman said that the suit was powered by rage. Kurama spoke. I would highly recommend not using any of my chakra. Naruto nodded, sidestepping a spear run by the suit before throwing his leg out, tripping it. Grabbing a handful of shuriken from one of his pouches, Naruto primed them with wind chakra before hurling them at the downed armor. But once more, to his surprise, they all bounced off, having no effect. Any other ideas I hadn't already figured out? Naruto asked, ducking and jumping back from the now righted armor's attacks. Ares is the god of war, Kurama said to Naruto, who grumbled about already knowing that. Shut up, and listen. He is the god of war, powering this suit with rage and the will to fight. It makes it stronger. However, not fighting it now would be pointless, as Wonder Woman said. You are going to have to grab onto it, and pull the rage from it, and channel it through one of your stores of natural chakra, and then release it harmlessly once purified, like you do with my chakra. Naruto's eyes widened at the suggestion that it could work. Any ideas on the seal I should apply to funnel it? Naruto asked, hoping the demon had any. No, but I don't think a seal would work. Whatever is powering it, it is not chakra. Naruto sighed before launching a rather large futon Renkuta at the armor, keeping it at a distance. Great, that means meditation and physical contact, Naruto thought, before jumping back further from the suit. Placing his hands in a cross fashion in front of himself, 6 Narutos appeared in a puff of smoke around the original. You all know what to do, Naruto shouted before rushing off into the fray once more. Sticking with chakra-enhanced taijutsu, Naruto weaved in and around the blows from the Annihilator, waiting on the first clone. While Naruto engaged the armor, the six began to sit and pull in natural chakra. Holy cow! Hawk shouted, recovering next to his brother. And Diana, this guy is holding his own while we were getting trampled over. Diana nodded. Shinobi has been through a lot, but I just hope it is enough to battle Ares' vision of war. Dove, however, was hoping it would end. Sure, he was a hero and fought when he needed to, but he applied violence, much preferring to talk through problems. But something caught his eye. What are those 6 copies doing just sitting there? Naruto felt the first one disappear, and the flood of natural chakra hit his system. Entering Sage mode, he grabbed the armor's helmet before ripping it open. Sticking his hand as far down as possible, he began to pull the energy out of the suit. And that was when he felt it. He felt the rage, the pain, the passion for bloodshed. It took all his will to stop from entering a cloak. However, shortly after the emotions he received from trying to drain the energy, he felt unbridled pain enter his chakra pathways. Naruto bit back a scream. The only thing holding it back was interrogation and pain tolerance training. Why does it hurt like this, Kurama? Naruto practically shouted at the demon. Kurama was trying to help in directing the foreign energy. Whatever this power is, it is far more potent than I expected. It is wreaking havoc on your pathways. Quickly dispel another clone. It should help even out the load. Naruto nodded, quickly dispelling a second clone. Feeling more natural chakra run through him, the pain subsided marginally. However, the Annihilator had enough, and retailed. Grabbing the blonde by the back of his coat, it threw him off before closing its helmet once more. Running forward, but with less speed than before, it delivered a devastating punch to Naruto's stomach. However, Naruto was more resilient than most, especially in Sage mode, and quickly used the contact to pull more power from the suit. Feeling the drop in natural chakra from his reserves, his first bout gone, Naruto quickly dispelled another one. Rushing forward, Naruto slid under its legs, throwing ninja wire he grabbed from a pouch on his belt around them. Recovering from the other side, Naruto pulled the wire tight, causing the suit to fall forward before sealing it together with chakra. Placing his hands on the suit, he once more started to gather the energy from it, and once more had to dispel another clone to handle the influx of the strange energy, as it had drained the chakra from the second one already. I only have 3 more clones left, Naruto thought, hoping this would be enough to finish the armor off. However, he wasn't so lucky. The armor was able to bend in ways not expected due to its lack of a human operator. Spinning its arms behind itself, the armor caught Naruto in the face with a right hook before throwing him off with its left hand. Moving its legs perfectly up towards its back, it ripped off the shinobi wire before righting itself. It was slow, and the blow barely even hurt, but the surprise caused Naruto to lose his concentration. Deciding to go all in, Naruto dispelled 2 more clones, and renewed his attempts to drain the armor. Every time Naruto came in close for a hit, he would open his palm, and draw in as much energy as possible, something he developed to fight against some of the reborn Hyuga. Come on, just a little more, Naruto mentally commanded himself, as the Annihilator became slower and slower, almost to a crawl. With one finally open palm strike to the chest, Naruto pulled the last of the energy out of it. The suit, with no power sustaining it, fell forward, impacting the ground, causing a little bit of dirt and dust to fly up. Alright, he did it, Hawk shouted, running over to the blonde, Diana, and Dove close behind. However, Naruto held up a hand and shouted, stay back. All 3 stopped, worried over why the blonde didn't want them to get close. And then all of a sudden, reddish-orange energy exploded out from him, scorching the ground below, and causing a small crater to form. Diana, no longer heeding his words, rushed forward to her downed teammate. Finding him in the center of the 2-foot crater, she approached him. Shinobi, you okay? She asked to help him up slowly. Naruto nodded. Yeah, just really sore, Naruto said. His chakra pathways felt like they were on fire. Give it just a minute, Naruto, Kurama said. I should have the damage healed in a short time. Remind me never to do that again, Naruto said, standing with help from Diana. Thanks for the help of Wonder Woman, Naruto said to the Amazon once he was standing. Man, what caused that backlash there at the end? Dove asked Naruto. The energy I absorbed was different from my own, Naruto said, stretching a little bit. I had to purge it before it did any more damage. All 3 were shocked by his bold move. Had it failed, they figured it probably wouldn't have ended well. Naruto dispelled the final clone. However, instead of using the natural chakra to enter Sage mode, he added it to his store of natural chakra, knowing his current supply was depleted due to the influx of rage he got from the Annihilator. Well, I don't know about you 3, but I am ready to get some rest, Naruto said to them. All 3 agreed. Paging John, Naruto and Diana grabbed the Annihilator, no one wanting the weapon to remain, and possibly falling into the wrong hands. Impressive, Slade said from his perch. He had watched the entire fight between Naruto and the Annihilator. Most impressive indeed, sir, Wintergreen said next time to him. but will he do what you want? I doubt he would be a candidate for apprenticeship, since he is already well trained. Unlike Nightwing or Terra. Slade nodded. True, I wanted an apprentice Wintergreen, but this man can do what I need without becoming one. Slade rose from his position, and made his way back to their plane. And what is that, sir? Wintergreen asked. You never did fill me in on what you required an apprentice for. You shall find out, Slade remarked, not bothering to explain further. For now we shall maintain surveillance on the target. Under Cadmus' dime, of course. Both men entered the Osprey before taking off, and returning to the Wilson mansion. Take about a crazy day, Naruto said to Hawk, Dove, and Wonder Woman, as the three were beamed up to the Watchtower with the Annihilator armor. Yes, but at least we prevented that civil war from escalating, Diana said, agreeing with Naruto. I wish they would stop fighting altogether. Dove spoke up behind the two. Leaving Hawk, and Dove, Naruto, and Diana began to move the Annihilator armor to the vault. That was impressive work back there, Shinobi, Diana said, thankful for his help. Anytime, Naruto said to the two of them arriving at the vault door. Well, this is where I have to leave you, Naruto told her, and she nodded. She wished Clark hadn't made some of those ridiculous rules, but she understood why. If it is any consolation, Naruto, Diana spoke up, catching the retreating hero's attention, I voted for you with no qualms. You are a brave and strong warrior worthy of the title hero by the gods. He smiled at the Amazon, before continuing his path away from the vault. I wonder where that came from, Naruto thought to himself while making his way to his room. She might be physically from this world, but mentally she is apart from it. Kurama spoke up to his host's musing. So, Naruto was intrigued by the demon's statement. From what we have learned, she is from an isolated island of warrior women. Kurama started, causing Naruto to nod. So unlike the other heroes here, she has no qualms about killing. Probably taught to kill instead of incapacitate. She respects you far more than the others. Makes sense, Naruto responded, not really thinking about her past much until today. Most of the heroes gave Naruto a wide breadth. He was too new, and too much of a mystery to them. Which in turn was fine with Naruto. He was making friends. It was slow, but he was. Turning the last corner to the hallway that contained his door, Naruto had to stop, and stare at the gathered group of people in front of it. Can I help you? Naruto asked, and, as one the body of people turned to face him. At that exact moment he realized just who all were standing in front of his door. Kara, Vixen, Black Canary, Stargirl, Huntress, and Zatanna. Either you are about to get luckier than the sin of lust itself, Kurama spoke to Naruto slowly, or die a violent, horrible death. Naruto, Kara spoke up for the group, waving her arms around at the gathered females. These are the ladies who have found your book quite interesting. Plus there's Barb down in Gotham, as well as a few who haven't joined the league who've gotten a copy of it. Naruto blinked olishly, trying to process what was going on. Okay, and Naruto was still confused as to why they were all standing before his door. Sugar, Vixen said with a smile, we want you to put that book series into production. It is amazing, the other gathered women nodding along. For the love of Kami and self-preservation, do not under any circumstances explain how you or your godfather get material to write those books, Kurama shouted into his mind. Yes sure, I will, get right on that. No need to, Huntress said, walking forward with a piece of paper in hand. Saved a publisher a while back. He owes me a favor. Sign this paper, and the first copy will be in production tomorrow. The rest just send him whenever you can. Taking the paper, Naruto looked between it and the gathered women, and back to it. Alright, Naruto agreed finally before signing it, and returning the paper back to her. The gathered women all smiled before departing, except for Kara. She smiled at him while walking closer and closer. Leaning in, she whispered into his ear, and you were worried about people seeing me with that book. Plus I believe you will do just fine on our first date. Kissing just below his ear, Kara walked away with a skip in her step, and a sway to her hips. Is it just me, or are women here more perverted than our world? Naruto's Kurama, still trying to wrap his mind around what just happened. No, it's not just you, Kurama confirmed for the blonde. With that done, Naruto walked the extra 2 feet to his door before walking in. Slade stood once more in his war room. This time, however, he was standing in front of the largest screen, debriefing Ms. Waller on the information he had attained on Cadmus. Target. What have you been able to find out about Deathstroke? Waller asked, the other department heads behind her waiting to hear what he managed to figure out. Not much, I am afraid to admit, Slade commented before uploading a few more basic things to their digital dossier. I was able to find all the missions he went on with the League, as well as spy on the most recent. He is a troubling puzzle, and I will need more time. The department heads in the back could be seen whispering something while Waller simply raised an eyebrow. I am surprised you need more time, Waller chided with a smirk. You are the best, aren't you? Slade narrowed his one lone eye through his mask. Do not insult me, otherwise you will find yourselves on the end of my wraith. Moving around the room, Slade spoke before terminating the video log. This man is more than he seems. You will do well to remember that. 100,000 a month for surveillance. If you don't pay, the dossier stops being updated. I wait for your first transfer. With the link cut, Slade turned to a picture of Shinobi standing before the fight began. Yes, he regarded the image on the screen. You will work perfectly. But if I am right, before it is time I will need an edge. Something to bring the curtain down with. Then you shall have it. Slade spun around, drawing a gun from his hip, leveling it at the voice that spoke to him. Do you really think that mortal weapon will harm me? Ares asked in a mocking tone to the mercenary. Forgive me if I find myself trying anyway, Slade remarked, the gun still level with the god's head. I would expect nothing less from the Terminator, Ares said with an amused chuckle at the end. What is it you want, god of war? Slade asked, growing tired of the mad god already. What any bloodthirsty god wants. War, the mad god shouted the last part before walking to Slade. He walked right up till the gun was pressed flush against his own forehead. But what I want is easily accomplished, Ares said with a smirk, simply by giving you what you want. Slade lowered the gun, but kept it in his hand, eye narrowing at the growing smirk on the god's face. I'm listening. It had been 3 weeks since Naruto was called in to help Wonder Woman, Hawk, and Dove to deal with the Annihilator armor. And truthfully, Naruto would much rather deal with an army of Annihilators than with what is happening later tonight. Seriously? Kurama asked his host, who seemed quite jittery at the moment. Yes, seriously, Naruto responded. The two had been arguing over the idea of Naruto skipping out on the date that was hours away. This is not a good idea whatsoever. I mean, a really bad idea. Naruto had taken to pacing in his room after finding that the gym was too small of a space for his normal training, and the hollow room was currently being used. Sighing once more, the demon began to speak. What again is so wrong about this? Naruto sighed before beginning his rant again. She doesn't need someone whose hands are stained with blood. She doesn't need a killer. She doesn't deserve one. Naruto's argument was filled with holes, and both Kurama and him knew it. Plus, her cousin is not my biggest fan. I do not want to be the cause of breaking up a family. You are the world's biggest idiot, Kurama berated his friend. She likes you. The baka in red underwear will eventually come around, once he pulls his head from his ass. Just take it slow, kid. Naruto sighed before turning to face his now open door, the sound breaking the two out of their argument. Standing in the now open doorway was Superman, with a leveled glare of course. Can I help you with anything? Naruto asked, clearly in his tone. Yes you can, Superman said, stepping into the room with the doors shutting behind him. I heard that you are taking Kara out tonight, he said while crossing his arms over his chest, trying his best to look as big and intimidating as possible. It took you 3 weeks to hear about it, Naruto asked with a mocking tone. Naruto wasn't surprised to see him, already having expected the visit from the Man of Steel. No, I heard about it almost instantly, Clark informed him. I took 3 weeks to speak to you about it because I found out from Batman that you started publishing a perverted novel series that Kara has been hooked on, he finished with a pointed glare at the ninja. Naruto had the decency to blush in embarrassment, at least. Was really hoping you wouldn't ever find out about that, Naruto said while rubbing the back of his neck. How did Batman find out? He doesn't strike me as the type to read it. Then again, neither did Kara-chan or the rest of the female heroines in the league. Catwoman, Clark answered for the blonde, who blinked owlishly. Catwoman? He parroted back. Superman nodded. Apparently your books have caught on with the female villain population, as well, among others. Naruto let out a nervous chuckle. So he asked, dragging out the O before continuing. Once more I found myself confused as to the weight in speaking with me. Clark kept his glare up before speaking, because I was hoping you would talk her out of it. Naruto sighed and nodded. You don't think I have tried? The first time I tried, she demanded that I take her out. And the second, third, and fourth times went well. Naruto trailed off, hoping Clark already knew so he wouldn't have to explain. Yes, she kisses you, so far in different places on your face. And based on what some people have said who have seen it occur, it leaves you open-mouthed and blubbering like an idiot. In my defense, she is gorgeous, Naruto remarked, trying to retain some dignity. It would not be good for a super pervert responsible for a novel series to be speechless by a simple kiss on the cheek, or under the ear, or on the forehead, or on his whisker birthmarks. Clark just intensified his glare, which Naruto shrugged off to use on them from the Man of Steel by now. I was trying to think of ways to threaten you, but, however, Clark was unable to finish, as Naruto cut him off. But you don't kill. Plus I can match you in both speed and strength. Clark nodded, though I have yet to go all out, so believe that for now, Naruto, he thought. So, we find ourselves at an impasse. Naruto starts waiting for Clark to speak again. No, Clark said, walking closer to him, I will not impede her date tonight. Kara has earned it, and is old enough to make her own choices. However, should everything that has happened up till now be a trick, now right in Naruto's face, I will dedicate the entirety of the league into bringing you in. Turning from the blonde, Clark headed for the exit until he heard Naruto laugh, not a kinda joking laugh or a nervous chuckle. Something borderline condescending, admirable. but foolish. If I wanted you, her, or anyone else dead in the league, I would have moved the second I was brought up here. The longer you stay by a target you plan to kill, the harder it becomes. All assassins know this. The longer you delay, the more chance you have of developing feelings for your target. Clark turned around to glance at the ninja behind him, and his eyes spoke it all. He was dreading the date, not because of Clark's threat, or because he was scared of messing up. He was scared of it going well. It was interesting for Clark to see it in his body language, but Naruto already looked defeated. Superman left through the now open door, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. As Clark turned the corner from the hallway that housed Naruto's and Kara's rooms, he was stopped by a voice. I take it everything is fine? Turning, he spotted Batman hiding in the shadows. Nodding, Clark motioned for him to follow, and began a trek through the Watchtower. Thanks for the lessons in body language, Clark told him. Batman just nodded. It is something you should have learned by now anyway, Bruce said while Clark sighed, knowing Batman had his own views on the world, and they would never change. By the way, who decided Naruto should be right across the hall from Kara? Clark asked Bruce, who only smirked in response, causing Clark to sign once more. Jerk. He's actually scared of the date going right. It doesn't make sense to me, Clark said of the two arriving at the teleporter. Batman stepped on it, and nodded to John. He has survivor's guilt, Bruce told him. He feels he doesn't deserve her because of his past. It is hard to see, but it's there if you know what you are looking for. And I assume you always know what you are looking for, Clark asked the Dark Knight, who smirked in return, and right after was pulled back down to Gotham by the teleporter. Once more, Bruce, you are a jerk, Superman muttered to the empty teleporter pad. Naruto sighed once more before donning some clothes he kept on his person for emergencies. Activating the seal, his shinobi uniform was replaced by regular shoes he managed to purchase a while back, black pants with a few extra pockets, and a red and orange plaid shirt. Taking a quick glance in the mirror, Naruto nodded to himself before leaving his room, and heading right across the hall. Knocking on her door, he heard her shout just a minute from the other side before it opened, and he was caught breathless. Wearing denim shorts that were so short, the bottom of the pockets were very visible from below where they cut off at the legs. Along with the incredibly short shorts, she was wearing a white cami with a see-through red blouse over it, and of course the glasses she used for her cover. All ready to go? She asked with a smile, and of course Naruto nodded dumbly. His brain runs through 1,000,001 perverted scenario at once. Laughing at the blonde, she kissed him on the cheek, grabbed his arm, and dragged him to the teleporter. By this time Naruto regained higher brain function, and they walked the last few feet hand in hand. Well, now, the two turned to see Lantern, who had spoken, along with Vixen, Arrow, and Superman waiting in the wings. Don't you two look like a pair of kids about to paint the town red? Lantern finished up while the others chuckled at Kara's blush, and Naruto's exasperated look. Does there seriously need to be a group send-off? Naruto asked before being smacked in the back of the head by his date. Fought a giant nuclear robot with her, Oliver said, and helped out with those wacko dreams. I've got a right to see the little lady off on her first date. He finished with a smirk, being careful not to mention too much about the incident a month ago while Superman and Green Lantern were around. I second the robot, Lantern said, and I've been on 4 deep space missions with her. Also, I am her javelin flight instructor, so I get dibs to see her off, as well. Vice President of the newly dubbed Justice League Women's Book Club, Vixen said, raising her hand before pointing it at Kara. One of us had to be present to see the president off. Naruto's face palmed at that. Seriously? I have to agree with you, kid. Kurama spoke up to Naruto's question. Women here are far more perverted than back in the old world. Clark was the last to speak up. Cousin, and here on official business from Ma and Pa. Both young adults raised their eyebrows at that until Clark lifted up a camera. Kara let loose a giggle while Naruto sighed, which made Clark smirk. Smile you too, Vixen said. Naruto placed his arm around her shoulder, pulling her in. Both of them are smiling at Clark. However, just as Superman raised the camera to take the picture, Kara leaned up and kissed Naruto on the cheek, which of course caused a dopey smile to appear on his face just as the flash went off. All of the gathered heroes let out a laugh at Naruto while Kara chuckled at her date. Though Naruto couldn't help, he felt a small pang of sadness. Kara had all these people coming to see her off, while Naruto had nobody. However, that was soon remedied from the monitor's oversight, as John called down to him. Have a good date, he spoke out politely to the two of them. However, Naruto knew it was for him, as John was looking at him. And right before he could say thanks, John spoke up again. Fish cake. Naruto's whine was heard even as the teleporter sent them down planetside. The others turned to John with questioning looks, while he just smirked. Turnabout is fair play, as Flash has taught me, was the only answer the Martian gave them. Sir, Wintergreen said, entering the Wilson War Room. The spy just sent us a message. Shinobi is on the move through Metropolis with Supergirl. Both are out of uniform. Slade smirked before rising. Grabbing his mask, he removed it, revealing his white hair, black eye patch, and one brown eye. Well then, Wintergreen, Slade spoke, holding up a strange-looking gun. Let's go introduce ourselves. Metropolis was as big and amazing as Naruto remembered. The office buildings and apartments rise higher into the sky than even the Hokage Tower back home. It always left an impression on him when he came to one of the cities. The two walked hand in hand, chit-chatting about different likes and dislikes that have yet to come up in discussion. Almost reminds me of the first team meeting, Naruto thought to himself, as they approached a movie theater. So what did you want to see? Kara asked once they reached the line. Naruto took a thinking pose while looking at the names of the movies and trying to see if anything sounded interesting. He said before turning to her, I got nothing. You pick. She nodded and smiled. Pointing to one of the names, Naruto raised an eyebrow. Don't I have to see the first one? Nah, Kara said, as they moved forward in line. Barb saw it the other day, and said they give a slight explanation in this one for people who didn't bother to see the first. Naruto nodded at her answer, still confused as to why they would do that. Who the hell would make it so you didn't have to see the first movie? Lazy-ass artist Kuram answered his partner, so get ready for boredom. It didn't take much longer until they reached the front, and Kara asked, 2 tickets to the Expendables 2, Naruto, she called out, switching to facing her fellow blonde, pay the man, and let's get in. Naruto smiled at her excitement, pulling money out of his toad wallet, causing Kara to laugh. They too grabbed their tickets and headed inside. For drinks and food, the two grabbed seats up at the top right under the projector. Both having amazing vision, they didn't need to be closer. Plus, according to Kara, the middle got quite crowded. Too crowded for you two to make out, Kurama mentioned to the blonde, causing him to sweat. Is this my date or our date? Naruto's the demon, who at that point wisely shut up. Which was good because right as Kurama shut up, the movie started playing. And while the acting left much to be desired, he had to admit, it was a pretty badass movie. Also, he definitely didn't mind Kara moving the armrest up and cuddling into his side like she did at his house. The movie ended, and the two rose with the crowd before heading out. Not too bad, Naruto commented, as the two walked out of the theater. The one-liners were funny, and those guys would have made decent shinobis. He commented on the fictional character's mentality. How so? Kara asked, as the two walked once more hand in hand through the city of Metropolis. Well, all shinobi where I am from were more like mercenaries here, Naruto began. We were available to do any job, as long as you could pay us. Assassination, bodyguard, spy, tracker, etc. We had people that specialized in certain areas of the mission spectrum, but we could all complete any job given to us. Kara nodded, surprised. She was of course used to ninjas like Batman, and Batgirl fought from the League of Shadows, so just the fact that they were mercenaries makes them good candidates for being shinobis, Kara asked him. Naruto shook his head. No, that's not what I meant. I meant they were similar. What would make them decent shinobis was their dedication to the mission. Kara urged him to continue, and Naruto did. My village prided itself on teamwork, and not leaving a man behind. Even though they lost him, and it hurt, they continued on with their mission. Mind you, they were able to get their vengeance, but that is not always the case. They had a code they followed. He breaks the rules is trash. He who abandons their teammates is worse than trash. Naruto sighed before turning to the skyline, and speaking once more. We knew we were tools of the Hokage and Daimyo, but at our core we're still human, so most of us came up with codes we would fight by. Some were not as righteous as others, but it is what helped a majority of us retain our humanity. Kara leaned up and kissed his exposed cheek, drawing Naruto's attention back to her. Looking slightly down at her, Naruto smiled before pulling her along. That ramen place we went to last time is close by, he said, causing her to laugh as she caught up to his speed. The two walked at a brisk pace to the place he wished to eat. That was until someone brushed into Naruto's side, being knocked down by his brisk pace. Quite sorry, my dear boy, the man spoke from the ground. I am afraid I didn't see you there. The two could detect an English accent from the man. Naruto offered a hand to the drowned man. Completely my fault, sir. I shouldn't have been walking that fast in this crowd of people. The man took it, and smiled at Naruto, which set him on edge immediately. He knew a fake smile when he saw one, and the look in the man's eyes spoke volumes about his intentions. Well, you two have fun, the man said before throwing them a wave, as he left. Come on, Kara said, dragging Naruto away from the man. That restaurant is close by. The two left, Naruto throwing one last glance behind them, eyes narrowing. He's gone. Quickly throwing up his sensory net, Naruto began to scan signatures, noting them in his head. Nothing, he mentally berated himself. I don't feel anything aside from civilians, but he was definitely not a civilian. I would agree, though he may not have been human. Your mate is giving off a weird energy field, Kurama noted. Yeah, I already figured that out, Naruto said, reminded of his fight with Galatea. Galatea's body was still healing after I hit her with the Raisin Shuriken, which wouldn't have happened had she had chakra. John doesn't possess it, as well, but like her, Superman gives off a weird energy signature within the net. So that's why you use your sensory net in the Watchtower, Kurama exclaimed. It thought it was because you didn't want to paint seals all over the walls again. Naruto nodded mentally. It is actually both reasons. I wanted to mark each of them, and understand the alien members' energy signatures for when on missions. I will mark the walls with seals soon enough. You know, Kara said, drawing his attention away from the mental conversation with Kurama. A girl might find it rude that you are suddenly ignoring her on a date. She smiled slyly at him once he finally turned to look at her. Chuckling, Naruto apologized, and the two continued on with their conversation about nothing. Once down an alley, and away from the couple, Wintergreen took out his phone. Master Wilson, he spoke after dialing the number. Slade didn't bother to interrupt. He knew better than to interrupt his old friend. Being an ex says he had quite the experience, and would relate all important information to him. And of course he wasn't disappointed. The target is headed towards 10th and Park. Also I managed to procure a name, Naruto. Slade smirked on his end of the line. You have done well, old friend. I shall make my move soon. Any speculation as to the current destination? He asked, making his way in the direction of his target. I believe they are headed to the Asian restaurant on the corner there, Wintergreen said. A date then, Slade said, more to himself than Wintergreen. I would believe so, Master Wilson. Wintergreen responded to his boss and friend's musings. Now we have part of the answer, as to the death of the clone, but the reluctance to kill others. But the puzzle still remains unsolved, Slade said, but soon it will be complete. He checked his holster, making sure everything was prepped. I am going to have to thank Cadmus for this little gem. Time to find out what I want to know. Sitting at a mostly private window seat, the two placed their orders. How come you didn't order like 30 bowls or something? Kara asked, as the waitress left the table after taking their order. Kara ordered orange chicken, and Naruto ordered only 2 bowls of ramen. Smirking at his date, Naruto responded, I thought it was rude to ignore my date, Kara-chan. Kara glared at the blonde across the table from him before pouting. Jerk. He chuckled at her before the two enjoyed their food, filling the void with conversation. So, Naruto began, finally asking the question that had been on his mind for a while. How come you wanted to go on a date so badly I couldn't talk you out of it? Kara giggled at his question. Already questioning my diabolical motives, Mr. Ninja? Naruto shrugged, guilty as charged. But seriously? I am sure one of the others has a sidekick or two that you've met and possibly liked. Why me? You know enough about my past to know I am not what one would consider a good guy. Kara sighed before reaching across the table and grabbing his chopstick-free hand. I treat your past how most others treat soldiers' past. What you did was neither good nor evil. It was done in the name of your country. Naruto was about to comment, but he was cut off, as a cold voice spoke up next to them. My, what a mature outlook you have on life, Supergirl. Both Naruto and Kara's heads swiveled so fast one might think they would have popped off. Both think different things. How the fuck did he sneak up on me? Naruto thought, his mind racing a mile a minute. Kara's thoughts were on a different track. Who is this guy? How does he know who I am? Both were worried, staring into the lone brown eye of the white-haired man standing before them. He slowly extended his left hand to Naruto, offering it for a shake. Slade, he calmly said, waiting for Naruto to return the gesture. Instead of returning the offer, Naruto pressed his fingers together, pumping chakra into the emergency seals in between them, causing 3 shuriken to appear. Slade smirked at his readiness, always prepared, a man after my own heart. Dropping his arm down, a glowing green rock appeared from beneath his sleeve before he tossed it onto the table. Both Naruto and Kara recognized it as kryptonite, quickly letting loose his shuriken at Slade, where all of them stuck true into the man's chest. Naruto grabbed the rock before hurling it across the restaurant, startling the other people inside. While Naruto was in motion, and Kara recovering from the minor exposure to the rock of her home world, both missed Slade's actions. The man who was laying back on the table smirked. Without moving his chest, his right arm pulled a weapon from his side, firing at Naruto, who turned just in time to catch an energy beam to the chest, blowing him out the window the two were seated by. Naruto, Kara shouted, jumping out the destroyed window to check on him. Shaking him, she began calling his name, trying to wake him up. Naruto. Naruto. That won't help one bit. Slade spoke, walking through the window, as well, turning to glare at the one-eyed man, and covering Naruto in case he tried anything further. Kara asked, What did you do to him? Nothing permanent, Slade began. I am a mercenary, as Batman will tell you once he is done dealing with my partner. I have been contracted to find out all there is to know about your boyfriend. I did just that. Slade turned to walk away, smirking, never leaving his face. Kara laid Naruto down, and after a quick glance around to see no one was looking their way, all the other patrons were too preoccupied with leaving the restaurant or calling the police, she rushed the man, and with her super speed, and was able to get in front of him, grabbing him by the collar, and lifting him up. Surprised her that he didn't seem worried one bit. Seeing her hesitate, Slade began to speak again. It is nothing permanent like I said. But I believe I forgot to mention you might want to get him to the Martian to protect his secrets, otherwise I will learn them all. Kara's eyes widened before laying a devastating punch into the man's midsection. Quickly called John on the communicator. John, we have a situation, she shouted into the communicator. Naruto needs evac now. Also we need a team down here. We were attacked by someone named Slade. Kara started to check over Naruto again once more by his side. He was breaking out into sweat, and was heating up. John didn't bother responding, instead beamed the two up. What happened? Clark asked, arriving in the medical room. Kara and John are already looking over Naruto. We were attacked, Kara said, walking over to her cousin. Some guy named Slade showed up. Clark had kryptonite on him, and knew my identity. What? Clark almost shouted. How did someone find out? Does this mean he knows who I am? Who is this Slade? Did he say anything else? Clark asked her. She nodded, and told him what she told John. He said that he was contracted to learn everything he could about Naruto. Did something to him that only John could stop. Turning to John, Clark sent him a questioning look. I am still unsure as to what this Slade has done to him, he said while looking over the readings before him. I had the doctors take blood samples, and they should have answers soon. Nanites, the grainy voice of Batman spoke up, causing the three heads to turn and face him at the door. They also noticed the Atom, Ray Palmer, with him. Deathstroke has used them before. He attacked the Titan's nervous system with them to attempt to turn Nightwing. These, he said pulling the strange gun out, are sent to attack his brain, download his memories, and send them to Slade. Gesturing to the Atom, he continued, Atom will shrink down in size and find the transmitting one. John nodded, understanding the plan already, while I mentally shield him from stopping the attack. Bruce nodded, but Clark was confused. Why would Deathstroke, Slade, give up the way to stop his plan? John listened in while prepping Atom for entry into Naruto's body. Deathstroke has always had his own agenda. He was contracted by Cadmus to spy on Naruto after an incident a month back. Superman narrowed his eyes at the Dark Knight. You mean the mission you sent him on alone? And what or who Cadmus is? Yes, Bruce said before turning away from him to look at the downed hero. John, having just injected the Atom into Naruto, Cadmus is something we will discuss later. Superman sighed, giving up. If Bruce didn't want to talk about something, it would take an act of God himself to make him speak of it. What were you doing in Metropolis? Superman asked. And how did you find this much out so quickly? I got a tip-off when I returned to Gotham that Slade was targeting their date. I made a beeline to try and disrupt him. However, his former comrade, Wintergreen, a top SAS operative, was able to stall me, Bruce said. John, you guys reading me okay? Atom asked over the communicator. We read you loud and clear, Ray. John confirmed. I will be setting up the mental shielding now. Make sure when you leave it is through the same needle I injected you in with. Will Ray responded before making his way through Naruto's bloodstream. I do not know how well my shielding will work against these nanites, John said to the three. Just try, John, please, Kara told him. Nodding, he placed his hands on either side of Naruto's head from behind the bed, and closed his eyes to concentrate. And that is when everything went foobar. John started to scream and thrash about. John, the other three cried out at once before rushing to him, trying to remove him from Naruto, and hopefully stop whatever was happening. As the three touched him, all four were shot off Naruto, and into the wall, blacking out. Ugh, Kara groaned. What happened? She asked, shaking her head before realizing they weren't in the medical bay of the Watchtower. Where are we? She shouted in shock, seeing something akin to a sewer around them. It would appear we are in a sewer system, John said, helping Batman up. Superman and Kara getting up on their own, the four looking around. Not like any I've ever been in, Batman commented dryly. What's with all the doors? Clark asked, seeing many doors, the others looking around with him, before they all turned to face an open gate, completely black past the opening. Okay, what is that? Kara exclaimed, pointing at the opening. It would seem to be some kind of open gate, John said, looking to the sides, seeing the gates open wide. No, the other three turned to Bruce. As he spoke, it was a cage. The question is, what was in it, and where is it now? Still behind the cage, mortals, a deep rumble of a voice could be heard. Slowly the darkness receded to reveal a giant reddish-orangish menacing-looking fox with 9 tails behind it. Who or what are you? Kara asked the four, getting ready for a fight. I am Kurama, the Kyubi no Kitsune demon of rage and hate, a force of nature you puny mortals couldn't comprehend. Where are we? Batman asked, not pleased with the answer the demon gave him. Kurama gave a mocking laugh at the question. The world's greatest detective is what they call you, isn't it? So detect morons? Batman just glared up at the Kitsune before him. However, before even he had time to think on it, John answered. We are inside Naruto's mind, correct? Correct, Kurama answered him. Where is Naruto then? Kara asked, looking around for the blonde. Kurama moved his tails to show Naruto beneath them, red and gold energy flowing into him. He is recovering currently. What this Slade didn't expect was me. I purged Naruto's body of the nanites as fast as I could to stop any attack. What I didn't count on was how devious he was. What do you mean? Superman asked. However, before Kurama could answer Batman, Slade set us up. He gave away a possible route to stop the transmission because he wanted a guaranteed way to send it. John. Kurama nodded. I guess your title is deserved after all. Not all of the machines were attacking my host, only a fraction. The rest were placed to attack John so Slade could hijack his powers and use his body as the transmitter. The memories have been butchered out of Naruto's mind, and you will most likely be forced to watch them. Those doors, Kurama said, pointing to 7 doors behind them with his muzzle, were not there before. The nanites, from what I can assume, hacked into the memory portion of his brain and downloaded what they could. It is not everything, but it will be enough to give away quite a bit that Naruto wanted to stay buried, Kurama finished. John spoke up next. And whatever I view will be transmitted to Slade? Kurama shrugged. No idea. We are dealing with things past my knowledge base, but I would assume so. Problem solved then, Clark said for them, the others turning to look at him. John can just get us out of here. And Slade can't get his information, Superman said, hoping his friend could pull it off. Supergirl turned to John hoping he could. However, the Martian shook his head. I cannot. I already tried to pull us out once I realized what happened. The nanites in my body are controlling my powers. Until Slade gets what he wants, we are stuck here. Right after John finished, they all heard the sound of something unbolting. Turning, they all saw one of the doors opening. And that is when Kurama spoke up. What you are to experience will not be over quickly. It will not be pleasant, but you will understand my host far better than any of you ever wished to. And that was the last thing they heard before being sucked into the first memory. The three watched as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, whisker-faced child was thrown from what they could assume was an orphanage. They could tell he was no older than 3, and dressed in what could barely be described as rags. Get out of here, you demon! You have hurt these poor kids enough. Turning, the woman slammed the door. Little Naruto laying on the street. Did anybody understand that? Superman asked, not understanding the language being used. Batman quickly looked at John. I do not feel up to translating every sentence spoken. Do you have enough control of your powers to give them my knowledge of Japanese? John closed his eyes and concentrated. It would seem that I do. Bear with me for a moment. It took only a second for John to give himself and the others the knowledge of Japanese, and they were glad for it, as the boy finally started to stir. Stupid bitch, Naruto said, surprising them with his use of profanity at such a young age. Sighing, the young child picked himself up and made his way through the village. The others were pulled along against their will. Seeing how the village treated him disgusted the four, while John and Bruce could only hear the whispers close by. Clark and Kara were able to hear all of them. The whispers of hate and derogatory names coupled with the looks of disgust and fury made even Bruce uncomfortable. This is barbaric. Why are they doing this? He's just a child, Clark asked, astounded by the villagers' treatment of a child. They believe him to be the demon. Batman answered his question. Clark asked, confused, and Batman elaborated. The demon rests inside of Naruto. They believe him to be the demon, and are trying to break his spirit while he is presumably weak. Kara just looked on with sad eyes at her possible boyfriend's mistreatment by his home. Naruto didn't really have a destination in mind. He eventually got tired of the glares and whispers, and began to move through the back alleys, blending into the environment. It didn't take long until they saw him digging around in the garbage, grabbing scraps of food, sniffing some before eating them. Some saw him spit back out, and wipe his tongue with his hand. Others he grimaced through, and finished eating. Standing, still hungry, he made his way through the village's alleyways. The others could tell it was starting to get dark. He left the alleyways, and made his way to one of the larger streets. Sticking his head out, he noticed it was less busy, and quietly made his way down the street, trying to avoid everyone's eyes. He managed to make it a fair distance until he bumped into a slightly overweight fellow, wearing a dirty, stained apron, and getting knocked over. Sorry there, little fellow, he said, reaching down, and righting the younger Naruto. You okay? He asked, kneeling down to look him over and make sure he wasn't hurt. Just fine, Naruto said before making his way past him, not looking him in the eye. That was until the old man heard his stomach grumble. Grabbing him by the collar of his ragged shirt, he began to drag the blonde behind him, who started to scream profanity and threats. The other villagers looked on with smirks, thinking the man was going to beat the child. He better not be planning on hurting him, Kara shouted, as they were following the memory. Even if he does, Kara, John begins to turn to face him. We must endure. We have no way to change his past, or his memories of it. Kara just sighed. Clark walked up, and placed a hand on her shoulder, trying to comfort his cousin. The old man neared a food stand that had flaps around it. Placing Naruto on one of the stools, he put his finger in his face. Now don't move, kid, he said, walking through the break in the counter. We are gonna fill that belly. How does that sound? He asked once visible on the other side. Naruto nodded slowly before he noticed a girl a few years older than him standing on a box stirring a pot. "I am Chan," the man called to the little girl, stopped working for a minute, and came to say hello to our guest. The girl stopped stirring the pot before turning around and getting off the box. Picking it up, she walked toward the counter before placing it down. Standing on it, she was now eye level with Naruto. "Ichiraka I am, maker of the best ramen broth in town," she said happily to Naruto while sticking out her hand. Naruto just stared down at the offered hand, then back to her smiling face. He kept this up for a few minutes until she reached over the counter and grabbed his hand. Placing it in hers, she began to shake her arm and whispered to him, "This is the part where you tell me your name." Pulling his arm back, Naruto looked away in shame, mumbling, "I don't know it." Ayam was surprised that he didn't know his own name. The four heroes had thoughts running parallel to hers. "Well kid," the old man said, placing a bowl in front of him, "my name is Tsuchi. And yours," pointing at Naruto, "is Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto turned to look back at the smiling man. His daughter smiled at him, as well. "Uzumaki Naruto," he said with a questioning tone slowly to make sure he got it right. Tsuchi nodded before handing him some chopsticks. "Eat up, Naruto." He nodded, breaking the chopsticks before taking a small bite, which turned into a bigger bite, and bigger until his face was in the bowl, gulping down whole noodles. He finished faster than Ayam had ever seen someone eat ramen. Placing the bowl down, Naruto let out a huge burp which caused Ayam to giggle. "May I have another Ojizen?" Naruto asked quietly. "Sure kid, coming right up." As Tsuchi started to make another bowl, the memory began to fade away. Looking around, they found themselves back inside the sewer-like room. Kara was trying her hardest to not cry, while the other three were trying their best to hold in their disgust with the people of the village. "I thought I had seen the darker side of humanity," Batman said, finally gaining the attention of the three other heroes, and the demon. "But that was monstrous," he said, turning to face the Kyuubi. "Why did they do that to him? Why did they think he was you?" "Oh, I figured it out. You said you were a demon?" That's what they whispered to him, as he passed by. "Why?" Displaced aggression and hate, Kurama spoke out in a bored tone. "You are right, I am a demon, but I am not solely responsible for what occurred the night I was sealed into him. But now that I sent over 1,000 souls to Yomi, they hated me for that, but hated the kid for a second reason, as well. You will probably see what happened, and if not, he will most likely tell you once he learns how much of his past you now know." Batman nodded while the others were still trying to process it all. They had seen things that were not pretty. Worlds enslaved, civilizations destroyed, people butchered in the worst ways by the sickest people. But to watch a child, who didn't even know his name, struggle through the hate of an entire village due to something beyond his control, it struck a chord deep within them. Mostly Batman, finding an almost kindred spirit in the recovering blonde. A man stripped of his childhood before it could even truly begin. "No rest for the wicked," John spoke, as they were sucked into another memory. The four looked around, and found themselves in a hospital. A silver-haired man with a dog-like mask over his face, wearing a white armor chest plate, and armed guards with tight black clothing, reading an orange book that all four heroes knew. "Well, I guess that would be his sensei," Supergirl said, looking at the man with a slight smile. "How do you know that?" Batman asked her with a raised eyebrow. She shrugged her shoulders. "He told me his sensei used to read the book all the time in public. Plus I've seen his picture, and his hair looks the same." Clark sighed while Bruce smirked. "I really wish you wouldn't read that smut," Clark said while Kara just smiled, and John chuckled. The door to the room opened up, and in walked an older man with white hair, a goofy-looking goatee that ended in a point, covered in white and red robes, wearing a hat, and smoking a pipe. "Inu," he spoke to the sitting man. "How is he?" Clark asked with a raised eyebrow to Bruce. "Ninja usually go by code names," he said, pointing to the face mask. "His mask looks like a dog, so his code name is Inu." "Fine, Hokage-sama," he said, not even bothering to look up from his book. His tenant took care of the damage. The staff is just making sure he is comfortable while he heals. The older man nodded, taking a puff of his pipe. "How are they treating him?" Turning a page, but attention still on his book. "Same, as always. They at least understand he is not the demon. But then again, 90% of the staff are medical shinobi. They understand how seals work." The Hokage was about to leave until a quiet voice could be heard speaking up. "What is sealed inside of me?" Both the Hokage and Inu looked to the bed, and saw Naruto awake, staring at him. "Are you sure you wish to know?" the Hokage asked him. When Naruto nodded, he looked to Inu. "Tell him everything. He will need the information to face the coming storm." Inu snapped his book shut, as the Hokage left the room. "Naruto," he spoke out softly, bringing the young blonde's attention slowly to him. "What I am about to tell you is an S-class secret of this village. You can't speak about it to anyone. Do you understand?" When he saw Naruto nod, he began. "To explain what is sealed within you, I must first tell you a story." A long time ago, when shinobi were still new to the uses of chakra, a group of them calling themselves the sages planned to master all the secrets of the strange energy we possess. There were 10 sages total, all masters of different arts and abilities, the gods of shinobi truthfully. One day they opened a portal to the netherworld, the very pit of the Shinigami's home, attempting to gain control of his power, and further their own. It did not end well. Angered by their audacity, he sent forth his 10 strongest demons to drag their souls screaming into Yomi. However, it did not go as planned either. The demons were too powerful for the sages to kill, and the sages, being master shinobi, were too crafty to be captured. The battles they had scarred the land, it formed mountains, and demolished countries. Naruto sat forward enthralled by his tale just like the heroes present, as well. But the sages grew tired of trying to fight the beast, and being master shinobi gave them an advantage the demons didn't have. The demons were pure chakra constructs given emotion, and thought by the Shinigami. The sages knew chakra could be sealed, and believed the demons could be sealed. Each of the 10 beasts had dominion over a different element, and emotion, so they crafted seals to contain each aspect, and channeled the demons' powers. The first was the Ichibi no Shikaku. He was given dominion over the desert sands, and the insanity they can cause. Next was the Nibi no Nikomata. She was given dominion over the fires of hell, and the passion of man. Third was the Sanbai no Kyodai game. He was given dominion over the waters, and depression that fell into shipwrecked hearts. Fourth was the Yambi no Sorrow. He was given dominion over the mountains, and the will of the heart. Fifth was the Gobi no Irakama. She was given the dominion over the flatlands, and the drive one possessed. Sixth was the Rokubi no Namakuji, given dominion over everything poisonous, and the despair of impending death. Seventh was the Nanabai no Kabutamushi, given dominion over the skies, and fear from above. Eighth was the Hachibi no Kaionyuu, given dominion over lightning, and impulse. Ninth the Kyubi no Kitsune, given dominion over earth itself. It was rage, and hate incarnate, destruction by the force of nature itself. Finally, the strongest of them all, the Suki no Jubi-Urufu, the Shinigami's wrath of death incarnate. The sages used powerful seals to bind the demons to their bodies, containing their power, and stopping the Shinigami's wrath from destroying us all. As time passed, the demons were resealed into new containers, as the old ones started to die off. They knew the demons would never pass on to Yomi unless the Shinigami himself willed it. At the creation of the hidden villages after what we now call the First Great Shinobi War, each of the containers was divided up between the 5 strongest villages. It was a means of deterrent from starting another war. They turned living people into weapons of mass destruction. Superman shouted in shock and horror. Batman and Supergirl were disgusted, while John's heart wept for the ones forced into that life. The day you were born, we were attacked by a man no one has identified yet. Your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, was the previous container of the Kyubi. Your family has been guarding this world from the Kyubi's wrath for over 1,000 years. This man attacked her, and your father tried to free the demon so he could use it for his own ends. He succeeded in his goal of releasing the demon, a process that killed your mother. In defense of the village, your father, Namikaze Minato, our 4th Hokage, used the seal he and your mother were developing to seal the Kyubi into you after you were born. They planned on you becoming the next container. However, there was a price for using the seal they developed. It called forth the Shinigami himself to bind the beast to you, not just physically, but spiritually. The Shinigami wasn't going to release his wrath upon humanity willingly. Your father's soul was sacrificed in place of one of the sages to tip the scales back into balance. Standing up from his seated position, he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, who had started to tear up, as Inu told him about his parents, and what was sealed within him. Be proud of Naruto, he spoke out with determination in his voice. Your father, my sensei, defended your life, and this village with the cost of his own. Unfortunately, there was a hidden cost, as well, one none of us hoped would come to pass. Your childhood. Naruto looked up at the man he now knew was his father's student. Is that the reason you always look out for me? He mumbled the question through the unshed tears in his eyes. The silver-haired Inu nodded. Naruto reached around, as far as he could, and hugged the man close, wet tears staining the armor he wore. Do not hate the villagers, Naruto, they do not know better. Pity them, it is harder to live with the hate than let it go. With those final words, the memory faded from view. How? Kara started looking at the giant beast. How could they do something like that? She asked, tears staining her eyes. Now she knew why Naruto didn't have a family, but to think his village treated him like trash after everything his father and mother did to save them. It was incomprehensible. Because you mortals are all the same, the demon said. When I was freed and placed under control, I killed a lot of people in that village. But they didn't just believe it was me, or the one controlling me. They believed the kid's mother failed at her job to contain me. Losing all those people, friends, family, and their Hokage. The kid was the perfect scapegoat for their hate. Even though he was the child of the leader they lost, Clark asked, still stunned. that the people would know who he was, yet still hated him. Kurama let out a chuckle. As I said, you are all the same, able to look past the simplistic and complexities of life, only focusing on what is in front of your face. They saw a reminder of what they lost, of what his wife failed to contain, not the legacy they left behind. But he never has, Kurama said, looking down at the blonde below him. Out of every mortal I have ever met in my centuries of existence, he is able to see everything, from the complex to the simple, to the good and evil of human nature. He walked a fine line, never once wavering from his ideals, his code. How many more memories will be dragged out till we are through viewing them? John asked, already wanting it to end. Kurama gestured with his muzzle. Based on the number of doors left, I'd say 5 more. Just as Kurama finished speaking, the third door opened, and sucked them in. The 4 could see that it was night time. The moon was visible, and they saw 2 figures crouched in the foliage of the forest. Naruto's blonde hair is viable in the night, held up by his headband, but his whiskered face is covered by a half-face mask. He was wearing a smaller version of what his league uniform was, minus the coat. Kakashi Taishu, Naruto spoke quietly to the silver-haired man from the previous memory. I sense 10 bandits, and 5 hostages. The heroes looked to Kakashi. As he turned to face Naruto, they saw he was wearing something similar to what Naruto wore, but with longer sleeves and a green vest over it. However, his dog mask was missing, and in place was a half-face mask like Naruto's, and a headband over one of his eyes. Then we should have no problems, the silver-haired man said, his one eye going up into a smile. Naruto nodded, and the 2 began creeping up on what the heroes could now make out to be a bandit camp. Slowly approaching the site, the 2 broke off, Naruto heading right, as his sensei went left. Once Naruto was in position, he read up to his throat, and pushed a small button on the radio mic attached to a strap. I am in position, he whispered out, almost too quietly for them to hear. They didn't hear what was said on the other end of the line, but they saw Naruto nod, and pulled 2 handfuls of shuriken from pouches on his belt. Bringing his arms across his body, they saw the blades glow for a moment before he flung the shuriken into the air at an angle. Completely out of the moonlight, the blades fell out of sight, and landed almost silently into the dirt near a majority of the bandits. Naruto made a hand sign, and that was when all hell broke loose. The shuriken exploded, sending metal shrapnel into the bandits nearby, and causing the final 3 to scatter. Both Naruto and Kakashi moved with speeds that only Superman and Supergirl were able to follow. Quickly rushing into the camp, both drew kunai in each hand. Naruto was the first to reach one of the 3 remaining bandits. Dodging under a poorly maneuvered sword swing, Naruto was within the bandit's guard before he had time to blink. Plunging the kunai in his left hand up into the man's bottom jaw, and up into his skull, he finished him off with his right kunai to the neck. Pulling both out, and jumping back off the dying man's chest, he searched for one of the remaining 2. Finding both engaging Kakashi, Naruto rushed them from the back. His feet made no sound as they impacted the hard ground. Reaching them in second, Naruto twirled the kunai in his hands to a forward-facing grip. Seeing one with raised arms about to bring a crude war hammer down on Kakashi, Naruto jumped slightly before plunging both kunai into the man's exposed armpits. Kicking him in the back of the knees, as he came down from his slight jump, he downed the larger man before pulling both kunai out. Reaching around him, he slashed the bandit's throat with his left kunai, pushing the dying man into the ground with his foot. Turning to face the final one, he saw the man dangling off Kakashi's kunai by his forehead. With a sickening wet noise, Kakashi ripped his kunai back from the man's head, letting him fall dead onto the ground. The hero's shock to Naruto brutally kill at such a young age made them want to lose their dinner right then and there. To see a child version of their teammate kill 9 men in under a few minutes was bone-rattling. The skill he was trained to was startling to say the least. "How strong is he?" Batman asked, gaining the attention of the other. "What do you think, Bruce?" Clark asked. The others nodded happily to turn away from the scene. "He just killed 9 men within a few short minutes. He looks to be no more than 8 years old. How good has he gotten in the last 11 years? Some of which, he has already told us, he fought in a war." That caused the other heroes to question just how strong their teammate really was. Turning back to watch the rest of the memory, they saw Naruto fall to his knees. Naruto let loose his stomach's contents after dropping his mask below his neck and sinking to his knees in the blood-covered ground below. Kakashi let him check on the hostages. It didn't take long for the silver-haired ninja to return, the 5 hostages in tow. "They are from a nearby village, Naruto," he said. His tone is completely professional. "We will drop them off before returning to Konoha. However, we must retain proof the bandits are dead for the client." Naruto nodded, knowing what it meant, and gripped his bloody kunai before standing. Slowly and methodically, Naruto began to remove the heads of the bandits, placing them all together in an area. When the final one was removed, he pulled a scroll from one of the pouches on his thigh. Unrolling it, he proceeded to seal every head into the scroll. Kakashi oversaw the collection of the heads, never once stepping in to assist the blonde. This lack of action enraged the heroes to no end. This is far beyond anything I could have thought up, Clark said while watching the child murder people in cold blood was one thing. But this was different, barbaric on a level he couldn't even comprehend. The darkest parts of humanity generally can never be imaged by us, Bruce said. He had seen quite a bit since taking up the mantle of Batman, but this was something else entirely. Once completed, Kakashi led Naruto over to the hostages before the 7 of them made their way to their village. It was a short walk done in silence. The hostages could clearly see the blood-stained clothes of the shinobi who rescued them. None wanted to question the men, and the men didn't want to answer any. After dropping them off, the 2 made their way back to Konoha, hopping through the trees in the forest. Kakashi signaled them to stop after what seemed like forever. The 2 ninja dropped down to the forest floor. After scouting the area and setting up a few traps, the 2 began to make camp. And that was when Kakashi started talking. Back during the Third War was when I was drafted under your father. We were just a few years older than you, and we had a mission very similar to this, but instead of bandits it was the enemy shinobi. We attacked in the cover of the night just like this mission, and we left no survivors. Taking a breath, Kakashi looked deep into Naruto's eyes before continuing. Your father told us these words, and I believe it is time you hear them. The life of a shinobi is a difficult one. We are nothing more than the tools of death and destruction used at the daimyo's whim, and dispatched into the field of battle by the Hokage. We stain our hands red with the blood of the damned, as well as the innocent. If you do not like this, then quit the shinobi corps when we return. If you can bear through it, you will see your deeds remembered by the village for eternity. We do not fight for ourselves, we fight for the village we call home, and the people there who cannot fight. We are their blood-stained saints, the evil that allows them to live peaceful and fulfilled lives. Leave no survivors, and you need not fear retribution or vengeance from your enemies. Naruto nodded, letting the words sink in. You take the first watch, and think about what he said, Kakashi said before heading into the small one-man tent. The 2 took turns sleeping in while the other kept watch. Back in the atrium once more, the 4 stood there trying to process what they saw, and what Naruto's father had said. They seem awfully quiet right now, wondering what memory it was, Kurama thought, looking down at them, figuring they would talk about it when ready. However, he saw them slowly disappear from the world, just as the doors were disappearing, as well. Looking down, he saw Naruto's mental form had stopped pulling on the natural chakra, and his own. It seems that this Slade has seen what he wishes to see. Kara, Clark, Bruce, and John all woke up inside the Watchtower's medical bay, in beds next to Naruto. Man, the Atom exclaimed, standing with Green Lantern and Vixen. John, your Martian anatomy is very different from a human's. Took forever even with Lantern's ring guiding me through to find the machines in you and destroy them. The others nodded while John voiced his thanks. I appreciate Ray's effort, Ray. But how did you know I had them? The Atom smiled politely. I figured out some of them weren't set up for human use when I managed to find them before I was expelled out of his body. By the way, how did that happen? None of the heroes answered, wanting to keep the secret of Naruto's demon for now. John turned to look at Naruto's still prone form, and sighed. I just wish it was faster. Lantern raised an eyebrow at that. What happened? Batman spoke up. Deathstroke tricked us. Used John as a means to send information he wanted on Naruto to him. What we saw was not pretty. And now Deathstroke has that information, as well. Standing, Bruce headed for the door, and left. What did you guys see? Vixen asked, and while she wasn't a master of body language like Batman or Huntress, even she could tell Batman was not okay after his trip into Naruto's mind. The darkest side of humanity, Superman said, glancing at Naruto. Turning to look at Kara, he placed a hand on her shoulder. Why don't you stay here for the night, Kara? I'll have the staff change out the bed for a chair. She looked over to her cousin, and found genuine concern in his eyes. Giving him a half-hearted smile and thanks, she nodded, leaving his side to sit by Naruto on the bed closest to him. The darkest side of humanity? Lantern asked. Both John and Superman nodded, and met us upstairs in 20 minutes. We are gonna call Flash and Diana to brief them on what we saw. That surprised the 2 newer members, Vixen and Atom, and caused John's eyes to narrow at the blonde, he now classified as a threat. John was the one to answer this time. No, he was never a threat to begin with. With that said, the 3 members left to clear their minds before the meeting with the other 3. Lantern, Vixen, and Atom all shared a look, trying to piece together what they saw. But with no information it was impossible. Vixen looked to Kara, and saw tears streaming down her face, the blonde laying in bed, hand within hers. Sugar, she said, approaching her, what happened? Can you tell us anything? They hated him, she said softly, not looking away from his face. He had no control over what happened, and they hated him for it. He lost his family, was beaten, starved, forgotten. Yet he fought for them, became a tool for them, protected them, and killed for them. They forced him into becoming a living weapon while abusing him at the same time. She finally looked up at Vixen with possibly the most painful expression the older woman had ever seen. It's not fair. Leaning over, she hugged the younger league member that her boyfriend had a soft spot for. It's gonna be okay, sugar, she said, and after squeezing a little more let go. If you need me, page me, she said before moving to grab Lantern's hand and dragging him out of the room. Come on, Adam, let's leave them be. The Adam didn't need to be told twice. He quickly vacated the room with both Vixen and Lantern. I am sorry, Master Wilson, Wintergreen spoke up behind the controls. It would seem the video feed has been cut. The nanites and the Martian were destroyed. Slade nodded, mask back in place. It is of no consequence to my old friend. I have what I need, he said, turning to leave the room. What is that, sir? Wintergreen asked the retreating form of his boss. The answer to my problem. Bruce, Clark, John, Diana asked the three members who had called the meeting. John, Wally, and Diana had arrived at the conference room shortly after being paged. All three are surprised to see the more level-headed members of the league drinking one of Bruce's fine scotches in quite large glasses, and seeing another full bottle next to the open one. The three looked up at their oldest teammates and sighed. Bruce speaking first. We called you here to brief you on what happened recently involving Naruto and Kara. The three members who were not present during the memories all shared looks before Wally spoke up. And this brief is supposed to be given while you guys are drunk, he asked, seeing the first bottle mostly empty. Bruce leveled a glare at the speedster. Trust me, Wally, this isn't the time. Taking a large gulp from his glass, he continued again. Deathstroke attacked the two of them. He was able to get in close, and using kryptonite as a distraction injected Naruto with nanites. A small group of them were sent to attack the memory portion of his brain and download as much information as possible. The others were implanted to latch onto John to hijack his powers and send the information to him. Deathstroke is a ruthless and cunning man. The only man aside from Ra's al Ghul to match me. Even then, Ra's normally loses, so I would put Deathstroke a step above him. That made all of the original members' eyes open wide. To think there was actually an evil Batman did not sit well with them. He used the information I had on him to set us up. He gave us a way to stop the information transfer, knowing I would believe he had his own motives at heart. But it was actually a guaranteed way to send the information. Bruce finished taking a gulp from his glass. John picked up this time. He told them that I could mentally shield Naruto and stop the transfer, but it pulled me into Naruto's mind. When Clark, Bruce, and Kara tried to pull me away from Naruto, the psychic backlash dragged them in as well. Okay, so that explains how you guys all got sucked into his mind, John started, but that doesn't explain how he got the drop on someone who can sense people around him. Hell, even you can't sneak up on the kid, and you can get the drop on Superman. That part doesn't add up. Bruce shook his head. No, it actually does add up if you know anything about Deathstroke. The Titans, my old sidekick Nightwing's group, have been fighting Deathstroke on and off for the past few years. He uses his vast wealth and technical expertise to use advanced robots to do his dirty work. You would never know you are fighting one until after you defeat it. Refilling his glass, Bruce continued, robots do not have a life signature until Naruto wakes up, and we can ask him. That is all we have to go on. Back to what we saw. We should never have forced Naruto to join the league. We didn't force him, Wally said, surprised that Bruce would say something like that, but the look from around the table said otherwise. Diana seemed just as shocked as Wally, but John, Bruce, and Clark all seemed like that was what they had planned. Seriously, guys? You were planning on putting an innocent guy into jail if he didn't join? It wasn't out of the question, Wally, Superman said, his voice laced with guilt. He was a potential threat to the league and the world. We acted rashly, very rashly, mostly because of my pride and fear. The others knew Clark was not Naruto's biggest fan, mostly because someone who could actually injure him was getting close to his family. But they knew something he saw changed his whole outlook on the boy currently recovering in the hospital room. We will not divulge Naruto's memories to you, John spoke out calmly, but know this, if we ever face a threat that we cannot overcome, I have no doubt in my mind Naruto will go beyond what we are capable of, and do what is necessary. You mean killing? John asked, but it was more of a statement. The three nodded. He has already done so for us once. All five of the other members turned to Bruce. Sighing, he figured now was the best time to explain Cadmus and the incident with the clone. A month ago, Kara had a weird dream, something that on the surface appeared to be a repressed memory. Yeah, but you sent Naruto to a facility, and he destroyed the machine that was causing those memories? You said they were trying to overwrite Kara's mind and turn her into a weapon, Clark asked, confused. The other senior members already knowing about this gave Bruce questioning looks. That was a lie. The repressed memories were from a psychic link that developed over time. A company called Nouveaugen created a clone of her. Over time their minds started to overlap. That caused Clark's anger to arrive on the forefront of his emotions. What? How dare they? How did they even get the DNA or expertises to create a clone of her? Bruce gulped down more of his drink. SDR Labs, from what I can tell, Naruto figured it out when he, Kara, question, an arrow went to SDR. He saw a machine that looked like one from his home world, and it finished off what he believed the dream to be. I tracked down where the machine came from, Nouveau Gen. Backed by government funds from Cadmus, they wanted to create a weapon against you. He finished looking right at Clark, which shut him up. Realization dawned on him. Dark side, he said. Nothing more had to be said by the Man of Steel. Everyone at the table knew what had happened, and how it affected Superman. Yes, Bruce confirmed before continuing, and Naruto was not pleased with this action. He headed to Nouveau Gen to dispatch the clone, and show them what a real living weapon was capable of. He killed her, Clark said looking at Bruce, who nodded at the statement. They may be young, and their relationship is just budding, but he cares for your cousin greatly. He didn't want her to have the same guilt that he carries. Bruce explained the most likely reason to Naruto's aggressive approach of the clone. He finally realized why the blonde had reacted the way he did to the knowledge of the clone after seeing his memories. He had been a weapon, and carried the mental scars to go with it. He didn't want Kara to suffer the same without even going through it. Clark nodded, still upset Batman hadn't told him the truth of the incident from a month ago, but understood why he didn't. So what now? Diana asked the group of senior members gathered. They all looked at Superman, who shrugged before taking a sip of his glass. Bruce finally rose, grabbing the full bottle of scotch, and heading for the door. We continued on, as normal. However, when he reached the door he stopped to look back at them, something they were getting used to. If he does wind up going beyond what we ourselves are capable of, I will not leave him to face it alone. He will have the best lawyers Bruce Wayne can provide for him. You are seriously saying you would be okay with him killing someone? Lantern asked, shocked. The others had varying degrees of surprises. As well, it was well known that no matter what, Batman would never cross the line. No, I wouldn't be. But this isn't about me, it is about him. He has been killed many times before, yet retains his humanity. He doesn't try to lord himself over humanity as a god, nor has he killed any of the rogues we have sent him after during missions. He will not kill at random, but he will if there is no other option. A final resort then? Our trump card? Diana asked Bruce, who nodded before leading the other members to their thoughts. Naruto was having a wonderful dreamless sleep, something he hadn't had in months. It was comforting to say the least, until he realized he was supposed to be out on a date. Memories of a decent movie, dinner, and being attacked flooded into the empty space of his mind. Kara-chan, Naruto shouted while sitting straight up in bed. Looking around, he noticed he was in one of the medical rooms of the Watchtower. He also noticed a weight holding down one of his arms. Turning slowly, he noticed Kara laying on it, head curled into where his shoulder used to be. Okay, Naruto thought, trying not to panic. What happened to get her in bed with me? He had hoped Kurama might have the answers. A lot, the demon vaguely answered his partner. Sighing, Naruto spoke out again, show me. And that was when he was hit by what Kurama experienced. I am not sure what memories they saw, but I have a few ideas. That motherfucker, Naruto yelled into his mind, unbridled fury boiling inside. Do you plan on seeking revenge? Kurama asked. He doubted Naruto would walk that path after seeing what it did to Sasuke. However, the demon wanted to play it safe instead of being sorry down the road later. No, Naruto said. Flashes of Sasuke's face contorted in rage, and hate entered his mind. I have seen what that does to people. But when we finally meet, and we will soon, I will end this Slade's existence. Damn the League's rules. Naruto, however, was broken out of his thoughts by Batman walking into the room. I figured you'd be out longer than that. I heal faster than what my profile says, but I guess you can figure out why, Naruto said to the man, who nodded in return. Bruce placed a full bottle of scotch down at Naruto's bedside before speaking again. Myself and the other senior members just finished a meeting. We briefed them on what happened, but not on your memories, or your tenant. Naruto nodded, grabbing the bottle, and taking a swig. After letting it sit on his tongue for a bit, he swallowed. Not bad, he told the man before offering the bottle back. Batman shook his head no, and Naruto understood it was a gift. Taking another gulp, he nodded for Batman to continue. I have just one question, Bruce said, walking closer, eyes narrowed. Robot, Naruto said, already knowing the question. I didn't feel any energy signature from him. Also, there was another guy I walked into who didn't have one, as well. Batman nodded before pulling the robotic head of Wintergreen from his cape. Slade Wilson, he said, placing the head in the trash, also known as Deathstroke the Terminator. He is a world-class mercenary with a mind as capable as me. He has taken an interest in you since Cadmus contracted him to pull information on you. Clone, Naruto asked, already having an idea of why. Batman nodded, confirming Naruto's thoughts before adding more. I am still not sure what they are after, or why he has taken an interest in you, but be careful. Naruto nodded before taking another sip. Anything else I should know? We are lifting all the rules that Clark foolishly placed on you. Clark will probably say it also, since he is the official leader and spokesperson of the League, he said, shocking the blonde. Why? Naruto asked the man. He knew a good majority of the League senior members were against killing. Actually, all of them except probably Wonder Woman were against it. Because we know you will not go off the reservation, so to speak, Bruce said, getting a questioning look from Naruto. He continued, you fought for people who hated you, despised you, abused you, yet you never turned your back on them. Which memories did you see? Naruto asked Batman, wondering what they saw to change their outlook. Batman told him, figuring there was no point in hiding it, when you learned your name, when you learned about your tenant, and the first time you killed someone. Naruto nodded, not happy that they knew some of his childhood. At least they don't know about what happened on my birthday before Kakashi-sensei drafted me. I take it none of you liked what you saw? Naruto asked the Dark Knight, who shook his head. No, he said before turning to leave, but I am glad we learned it. He left Naruto to his thoughts, and the blonde-haired girl laying next to him in the tiny medical bed. Sighing, Naruto looked down to Kara, and smiled before stroking her hair, taking sips from the bottle. Before he knew it, was back asleep. Kara awoke slowly, feeling well rested, which didn't sit well with her groggy mind, and that was when she remembered the date, and what followed. Trying to sit up, and look for Naruto, she found she was being weighed down. Turning her head, she saw that she was in Naruto's arms on his bed. Stop wiggling around, Kara-chan, Naruto whined. I am tired, and hungover, he complained from under her. That is when she noticed the finished bottle of scotch laying on the bedside table. Naruto, she began slowly, I'm sorry. Sighing, Naruto cracked open his eyes to see Kara looking at him, unshed tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Placing a hand on her cheek, he leaned down, and captured her lips in a chaste kiss, silencing anything she had to say. Pulling back, he laid his head back down before bringing up one of his hands, and started stroking her hair. Don't worry about it, Kara-chan, Naruto said softly. It is in the past, and nothing will change that. Sighing, she snuggled closer into him. I know that, but you shouldn't have had to go through that, to live a life like that. Naruto nodded from his position, but I did, and I am stronger for it. It helped make me who I am today, and while it wasn't pleasant, I wouldn't wish it on someone else. And that is what makes you hero material, a voice spoke up from the doorway. Naruto turned his head, and opened his eyes while Kara just turned her head. Also, when I said to stay the night, Kara, Clark said, entering the room, I meant for you to use one of the chairs. Chuckling lightly, Kara smiled at her cousin, but this was far more comfortable. Up, he said, glaring at her. Now, Kara complied with her cousin, though she did let out an undignified huff. Clark walked further into the room, noticing the robotic wintergreen head in the trash, and the empty bottle on the nightstand. I guess Batman paid you a visit, to which Naruto nodded. So he did use a robot to sneak up on you, he said, looking further into the box. Naruto sat up slowly, closing his eyes to stem off the hangover threatening to split his brain in two. Yeah, Naruto said, robots don't have a life signature. Even then, my energy sensing isn't perfect. That caused Kara and Clark to raise eyebrows, and with their questioning looks, Naruto continued, I can only sense chakra, an energy only humans possess. Both understood at that point. So you can't sense us, and other aliens? Kara asked, to which Naruto shook his head. No, I can sense you, but your energy is different. It's subtle, but if you know what you are looking for, the differences are there. Like you both feel no stronger than a civilian. However, we know that is not true. Both Kryptonians nodded. Well, I guess Batman already figured I am lifting the rules place on you, and told you when he came to visit, Clark said, more than asked. Receiving a nod, as his answer, Clark smiled. You know, I am starting to get the feeling he likes you more than the rest of us. Naruto smiled before shrugging. It might have something to do with the fact he was trained as a ninja. That statement caught Superman completely off guard. It is in the way he fights, Naruto explained at the looks on their faces. I noticed it when we fought that murdered kid. He uses his mind, theatricality, and deception to take down stronger opponents. Clark nodded. Well, I have to get back to work, see you two around. He headed for the door before stopping to glance back at the two, keeping Kara out of his bed. Kara. Both laughed nervously at that, as Clark left. However, once Clark was gone, Kara turned to Naruto. He said, I had to try and keep out of your bed. But she stood, grabbing Naruto, who had his eyebrow raised. He didn't say anything about my bed. Naruto giggled perversely. I guess we didn't get a makeout session during our date, did we? Using her super speed, she arrived in her room with Naruto in her arms, bridal style. Isn't it normally the man who carries the woman past the threshold? He asked with a perverted giggle. To which she responded, normally yes, but you are hungover. Didn't think you wanted to chase after me or carry me? Right you are, Naruto said before they landed on the bed. Give me some sugar, baby, Naruto said, capturing Kara's lips. Clark was helping John out, looking over the sensor arrays they had set up for Earth. The Martian was not at the top of his game due to a hangover caused by Bruce's scotch. Ugh, John grumbled, rubbing his head for what felt like the 100th time, reminding me never to drink again. Will do, John, Superman said with a light chuckle until alarms started blaring all over the Watchtower. John worked through the pounding in his head, bringing up on the main screen the issue. What is it, General? Superman asked, seeing the General Eiling's face appear on the monitor. Superman, he said, being direct, we have a situation down here. His face left the screen to be replaced with some kind of giant machine that had robotic spiders pouring out of it, destroying everything the army was throwing at them. We could use some help, Eiling said, face appearing back on the monitor. And you will have it, Superman said. John got over the loudspeaker, and communication lines for all League members. Justice League members, we have a code Omega on our hands. All members suit up, prepare for emergency teleport, and javelin drops. This is not a drill. All members started running toward the teleporter, Superman with the first batch. Send us down, John, we will hold them off till help arrives. Nodding, John sent them down, the rest of the heroes standing by while javelins could be seen leaving the Watchtower and entering the atmosphere. Ready? Naruto asked Kara, who had just changed into her outfit. Yup, you, she asked before seeming to disappear in a puff of smoke, only to reappear in costume. Let's get to it, he said, rushing out, and into the throng of other League members. Arriving at the teleporter, Naruto nodded up to John, whisked away in blue light with the rest of the members. He and Kara went earthside. Arriving in the thick of it, Naruto saw some members helping the army trying to get out of harm's way, while others were holding a falling line against the machine. Nodding to Kara, they broke off, and into the thick of battle. Pulling 2 handfuls of shuriken out from pouches, he took careful aim to make sure none would fall near League members, before hurling them into the air. As they made their descent, he ran through a set of hand seals before shouting, Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and all the fighting members stopped for a second to watch, as a rain of thousands of shuriken fell down onto the spiders. Damn, Vixen said to Supergirl, the two fighting next to one another, that is some guy you got there. Kara nodded, though her thoughts were flashing back to a recent memory of his. We should pull the pack a bit, she shouted to Vixen, and the other heroes near her. They looked up before falling back with her. Just as they did, the shuriken impacted the robots, tearing into them. The lines behind them, however, kept moving forward, just as Naruto hoped. Smirking under his mask, Naruto flashed one final seal, and shouted, Bunshin Daibakuha. All of the shuriken exploded, destroying the approaching lines of spiders, giving the League some more working room. However, it did take them a minute to capitalize on it, with no one expecting a single member to be able to do this much damage on his opening salvo. But Naruto wasn't one to hesitate. Drawing 2 kunai, and charging them with wind chakra, creating twin wind swords, he dove in. Talk about overkill, Lantern said before blasting into the robots with his ring. Worried about that later, Batman said over the open communication line flying overhead in the Batwing. I have something that might buy us some more time. He flew in low before firing a missile at the alien machine. After impact, eyes started to grow over a majority of the machine. What was that? Diana asked, smacking a spider with her strength, sending it flying, and into a line of them, destroying them all. Thermionic gas cools to within a few degrees of absolute zero. Had to freeze the Gotham River once. Pulling up, he righted his plane before barking out orders. Superman, use your X-ray vision, and find us a weak spot. On it, but I will need some cover, he said, flying up slightly before adjusting his vision. However, before he was able to get a look, something new jumped to attack him. A robotic panther-like creature. However, before it got within striking distance, a wind bullet ripped into it. I got your back, Red Britches, Naruto shouted from the ground before slashing 2 more spiders in half. Smirking, Clark renewed his efforts to see into the machine. My God, he shouted before looking down to one of the robots, his fears confirmed. He then spoke to Batman. This is not good, Batman, he said before using his laser vision to destroy a bunch of them at once. The main ship has some sort of dark heart creating machinery around it. It is using the mesa as a material source. It gets worse. Every one of these machines has the same heart inside of it. How small? Batman asked, dropping explosives onto the robots below. Tiny, the Man of Steel responded. We need the atom. To get going, Batman said to him, you are the best choice. We will hold them off, as long as we can. Superman nodded, about to jet off before looking down to see that if he left, Naruto would be alone. Without missing a beat, Naruto shouted up to the Man of Steel, go, we need that guy. I have my own backup, throwing up a cross-fingered seal before hundreds of puffs of smoke appeared on the battlefield. Naruto's running out of them, unleashing hell with his attacks. Nodding, Superman took off to retrieve the atom. You know what to do, boys, Naruto yelled, smirking at the same time. With no one around, I would say it is time to get wild. That is what I like to hear, Kurama rode from within the confines of Naruto's mind. Out of the few hundred clones wreaking havoc on the robots, 10 stayed behind. 5 of them sitting on the ground while the other 5 covered them. Think you will need that much, kid? Kurama asked his host before shooting his tails into the floor of the mental realm. Let's hope not, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Naruto pulled on his reserves of natural chakra the second he felt the demonic chakra enter his system, and in a burst of orangish gold light was covered in his chakra cloak. Some of the League members saw the light, but couldn't see what was happening. burning bright orange with black seals running along his body from the navel. Naruto smirked before throwing both hands out to his sides, 4 clones appearing in puffs of smoke next to him, and began to work. With a battle cry, Naruto let loose 2 massive raisin shuriken in an arch, carving a path of devastation into the throng of robots, leaving nothing behind. As they went, he held back for a second, knowing what the finished product would be, as the 2 wind attacks came closer together before colliding in a massive explosion that sent chakra-enhanced razor-sharp winds in every direction. "What in Hera's name was that?" Diana shouted over the communicator. "That would be the reason I am not near any of you," Naruto said before redrawing his kunai and jumping head first into the enemies. "Gonna have to thank you for that later, kid," Lantern said, covering Vixen and Supergirl with his ring. "Less talk, more fighting," Vixen said, touching her necklace and gaining the powers of her favorite animal, the tiger. Launching herself at the spiders with agility and speed, she clawed her way through them with little trouble. "Just call us if you need backup, Naruto," Supergirl said, using her heat vision to free up Strip while Stargirl was occupied. "Will do," Naruto said before flipping a hand sign and detonating his clones all deep in enemy territory. The explosions rocked the area and destroyed a vast number of the robots, but for everyone that was destroyed, 3 more came to take their place. "This is more like it," Kurama rode inside of Naruto's head, the rush of battle his container was feeling pumping him up. "Lay waste to them all, show them no fear, and leave no survivors." Naruto smirked before running through a set of hand seals. "You are having way too much fun, Kurama, Futon, Daytapa," he shouted before clapping his hands together, creating a huge gust of wind pushing the spiders back into one another, destroying them. Taking a second for a breather was all he got before some of the robot panthers decided he was a major threat. "Oh great," he mutters once more, drawing his kunai before charging them. Ducking under a leaping one, he brought the kunai forward while sliding under it, carving it in half from head to tail. Coming to a stop, he twirled around and extended his wind blades as more leapt at him. However, his twirling turned him into a spinning top of death, carving up all the attacking panthers. Coming out of his spin, he felt the strain of Kurama's chakra and his rage building up. "Gotta dismiss one already," he thought before feeling the balance of natural chakra evening out his system after dispelling the first clone. And that was when he heard John over the communicator. "All League members fell back. We are going to use the Watchtower's fusion cannon to carve a trench to buy you some more time. Superman is already on his way with the atom." Naruto nodded, dropping out of the cloak, keeping the connection. "Kurama, we will re-enter once alone again." "Good. I don't want to miss out on any of the fun," Kurama said, leaving his tails implanted, but stopped the flow of chakra. Naruto dismissed the rest of the clones and felt his reserves filled to the brim up natural chakra. Naruto reached the other members just in time, as a beam of light shot down and started a slow path around the large machine, vaporizing everything in its path. "Naruto," Kara said, drawing his attention away from the beam. "How you holding up?" she asked, flanked by Lantern and Vixen. "Peachy," he said breathily, a little heavily, but ready for round 2 though. Turning back to the robots, he saw them hesitating to crawl into the trench. "Really?" Lantern asked. "After you did that much damage on your own, I figured you'd want to rest." "Rest on the battlefield only comes when you're dead," Naruto said in a serious voice. Seeing the robots finally make their descent, the panthers moved quicker than the spiders. Drawing a second set of shuriken, Naruto let loose with another salvo of shuriken Kage Bunshin and Bunshin Daibakuha. Naruto prepared to rush forward once more, but was stopped by Batman's voice. "Wait!" The heroes turned to see Batman being carried by Wonder Woman, and Superman had returned. "Ray," Superman said, "tell them what you told me." As the 3 landed, the 4th member of their party hopped out of Superman's ear and grew to size. "Superman briefed me that the machines were using everything in their path and turning it into viable working substances. Turning rock into metal happens on a molecular level." Batman nodded, following him. "If you got in, would you be able to stop it?" Ray nodded. "I should be able to." Batman immediately started to bark out orders. "Diana, you will carry Atom to the main machine while Shinobi and Superman cover you. The rest of us will draw a line here." The members around Batman nodded, breaking off to their tasks while the other members got into position, hearing the conversation over the communicators. "Here they come," Lantern said, seeing the first group come out of the trench and their way. "Ray," Diana said to the Atom while holding out her hand. "Just don't squeeze too tight, Princess," he said, shrinking down and being scooped up into her hand. Flying low, Diana took off, Superman on her trail, and Naruto flanked her. The 3 made it to the trench, and with a giant leap Naruto cleared it, landing with kunai drawn into the middle of the robot army, slashing his way through while giving cover to Diana. The 4 were making good time, but not enough. "Ray, I need both hands," she shouted before placing him between her upai and grabbing her lasso. "That lucky motherfucker," Naruto said, jetting a kunai backwards, stabbing a panther that tried to maul him from behind. Super hearing was all Clark said before unleashing his heat vision on a group that tried to attack Diana as she neared the main machine. Super pervert, deal with it. Naruto put both kunai away before blue energy gathered at both his hands, releasing them at different angles, and calling out, Yuhasho! The blades turned in different directions, cutting through the enemies like a hot knife through butter. That's the attack you used against me back when we fought in the hollow room, right? Superman asked, ripping apart a panther. Naruto nodded before punching a larger spider, and redrawing his kunai, forming a new set of wind swords, yeah, but with more power. Ducking down, and spinning in a barrel roll-like manner, Naruto cleaved the heads off 2 more panthers. Superman, Shinobi, Diana called over the communicator, I have dropped Ray off. I am pulling back to help hold the line with the others. Roger that, Diana, Superman said, we are following shortly. Turning to Naruto, he called to him, need a lift? Naruto just shook his head. No, I am staying here. Clark was shocked by his statement, but kept his focus using his breath, and blew a group into a flanking group, destroying the 2. Are you mad? He asked before ripping apart another panther. No, Naruto said, performing a long-armed horizontal slash with his wind blade, cutting apart 10 spiders with one swing. Adam may need backup, and I can hold my own. Join the others, my more destructive techniques might injure you. Are you sure? Superman asked the blonde, who nodded. Yes, now go. With one last glance, Superman took off, fist first plowing through the robots, and back to the line with the rest of the league. Hit it, Kurama, Naruto said, excitement evident in his voice. Smirking, the demon channeled his chakra once more into Naruto, who used the natural chakra he got when the other 4 clones dispelled to stabilize it, and entered the cloak mode. Second wind, here we go. With a shout, Naruto tore into the robots with greater force, slashing everything that came his way. This is amazing, Naruto heard the Atom say over the communicator. This machine is actually an alien weapon. Its creators used it in a war against another planet. It was shot out like a cruise missile. When it landed, it followed a simple program by its creators: destroy everything, and replicate. Oh my god! It ate a planet. Who would make something like this? Ray said, astounded by the sheer devastation it wrought on the planet it was sent at. Why is it here then? Batman asked, his tone tired, and filled with deep breaths. It followed its programming, Ray said. After the planet it attacked was destroyed, it replicated, and sent more out. According to what I am seeing, it actually destroyed its creator's planet as well. Is there any way to stop it? Batman asked the nanophysicist. There might be, Arg, Ray shouted in distress. Ray. However, the Atom didn't respond. Damn it, Batman yelled over the communicator. Shinobi, do you see any sign of Atom? Naruto looked around near the machine while dodging swipes from robotic spiders and panthers. Negative, Batman. I do not have a visual. However, a second later, Naruto saw a yellow symbol appear. An atom grew in size next to him. I wasn't able to destroy the heart, he said to Naruto, who nodded. Any ideas? Naruto asked while covering the other hero. None that are Gantured. We need to destroy them all, every last one. If even one escapes, this whole nightmare will start again, Ray said, dodging, and keeping out of Naruto's way, as best as possible. Naruto nodded before sheathing one of his kunai. Grabbing Ray, he spoke over the communicator. Someone who can fly, heads up. Twirling around, he hurled Atom toward the other league members. I got him, Lantern said, creating a giant green catcher's mitt, and pulling Ray the rest of the way back. Does anybody have any ideas? Batman asked the gathered heroes. Because we are running out of time. I have one, Naruto said, hacking into another panther, Supergirl or Superman. I need to know if any of the machines have gone underground, and if so, how far. I also need a reading of how far out they are from my position as Batman. Finally, I need whoever can create a shield to do so on my signal. That's a lot of needs, Batman said with a grunt. Naruto assumed he threw a set of. Just get it done, Naruto shouted from his end. Go on up there, pretty lady. A cowboy-like hero shouted to Kara, unloading rounds into the robots in front of her. Thanks, Vigilante, Kara shouted before shooting up into the sky. Once high enough, she used her X-ray vision. They were about 100 feet into the ground. So aim for penetration to 300 just to be sure, Naruto thought, before pulling on more of Kurama's chakra, entering the two-tailed state. Now more red than orange, whisker marks darken, teeth longer, and body becoming mostly chakra. Based on quick calculations, you are about 2,000 feet from our position, Batman said over his communicator, prompting Naruto to go 2 more tails higher. Blast radius 2,000 feet. Now completely covered in red chakra, the energy was covered by a white bone-like structure reminiscent of a fox, but still with a human head. He was larger, and the league members with enhanced sight could see him, while the others could see the ominous red glow of his chakra. What the hell is he doing? Lantern asked. I don't know, but Batman said, throwing the last of his. You and Dr. Fate need to be on standby to create a shield. Dr. Fate nodded, moving closer to Lantern, and then spoke. I am ready when he gives the signal. Lantern ready his ring. Same here, and that was when they saw it. The reddish light shoots upwards into the sky. That is one high jump, Superman said, impressed that the blonde could jump that high in his current state. After entering the four-tailed state, Naruto let out a mighty roar before sending out a wave of his chakra, destroying a few dozen of the robots around him. Crouching down on all fours, he jumped high, as hard as he could into the air. Reaching the apex of his jump, which was a few hundred feet up, he turned and began to gather white and black energy at the tips of his tails. Now, Naruto shouted, and saw green and yellow shields from around the battlefield containing the robots inside. Leaning forward, Naruto directed his head down before moving the glowing tips of his tails forward, near his mouth. Swallowing the energy, he held it for a second before releasing a giant purple ball downward onto the main machine. However, it didn't explode at first, just plowed into the main machine, destroying it, and pushed its way down the mesa and into the earth. Once at the desired depth, Naruto's eyes flashed black before the ball exploded outward, vaporizing everything in its path. The purple explosion took no prisoners and left nothing but ash. Once it reached the shields, it stopped for a second before tearing through Dr. Fate's yellow shield like paper and causing Lantern to buckle out under the force. But the green shield held, and when the purple light died down, the heroes stared in awe. Hera, Diana exclaimed, with other religious members speaking their gods' names out of shock and awe. What stood before them was a 2,000-foot wide and 300-foot deep crater. Inside the crater was the red glow of Naruto in four-tailed states, and with one final roar he dropped out of it. Drop the shield, Lantern, Batman said, looking at the destruction before him. It's over. Lantern complied and dropped the shield before being helped up by Vixen. Kara flew off the second it was down to see if Naruto was okay. What the hell was that? Batman, Diana, and Superman turned to face General Eiling. First we find out you have a giant space gun pointed down at us, Eiling said to them. Then I get the unpleasant view of one of your members leveling this area to ash. Batman glared at the man, knowing he was in Cadmus. That's us, saving you. Oh really? Eiling said, not believing for 1 second the League's motives. It wasn't a show of power? Because that is what it looked like to me. Batman walked forward before leaning into him. Believe what you want, General Wade Eiling, Weapons and Tactics Department head for Cadmus. Backing up, Batman turned to leave and followed the last remaining members to Naruto. However, he stopped for a moment when the general spoke up. You can bet we will be speaking about your space gun and your man in the crater soon, rich boy, he said before turning around and getting into the helicopter. Batman turned back to Superman and Diana, shock clearly evident on their faces. Brew. Yes, Diana, Bruce said, cutting her off. Cadmus knows all about us. All of us. How? The League files are encrypted and would require a genius to hack them. There's only a small group of people who would be able to break into those files, and I doubt any of them would be working under government dime, Superman said. Having heard what Batman muttered to the general, the three made their way to the center of the crater. You'd be surprised who the government has been bankrolling lately. Deathstroke, Superman asked, to which Batman nodded. Cadmus is a 100% government-funded agency from what I've been able to find on them. But no, they aren't currently bankrolling anyone who could hack our files, Bruce said. Diana raised an eyebrow at that. So we have a spy in our midst? To which Bruce nodded in affirmative. Any leads? Clark asked his friend. If they had a spy, he was sure Batman already had a guess as to who it was. Don't need them, Batman said in his tone, telling them to drop the subject. Clark sighed, knowing Bruce, but that got Diana curious. However, she forgot to mention anything for the moment. Arriving at the center, they saw Kara supporting Naruto, who looked exhausted. What was that? Batman asked, glare coming to the forefront. Something complicated, Naruto said, not waiting to talk about it with this many random members around. Batman nodded before paging John. John, do you copy? He waited for a few minutes before sighing. Watchtower is still out of power, he said to the group of heroes, who all nodded and began making their ways to the javelins some took down. However, Naruto stopped Kara with a tug before whispering in her ear, causing the other heroes to develop questioning looks at the blush that now adorned her face. Our rotation ended 2 days ago, so bye, Naruto shouted. Kara, with her arm wrapped around him and under his armpit, flew off in what most figured was the direction of Kansas. Your rotation doesn't end for another 2 weeks, Batman said with a smirk to the now glaring Clark. Have fun thinking about what those two are up to. Turning to Diana, Bruce spoke again. Can you give me a lift? Diana smirked before leading the way to her invisible jet. Clark stood there alone in the crater, glaring at the back of the retreating and smug dark night. You are the biggest jerk ever, Bruce. Biggest jerk ever, he muttered before heading to one of the last few javelins. Kara flew slowly so as to not aggravate her passenger, who was beyond exhausted. So now that no one else is around, what was that last thing you did? And why did you look like a four-tailed monster? Kara asked him. Naruto sighed before explaining. The four-tailed monster, as you so eloquently put it, is what we containers call one of our modes. It starts out with the cloak, which was the orange form I took at first, and, as I had more tails, the closer I looked to Kurama. Kurama? Kara asked. Naruto nodded, explaining, yeah, that's Fuzzbud's name. I will refrain from insulting you because you used the Baijidama. As for what I did, it is an attack only containers like me can do. It is called the Baijidama or Tailed Beast Ball. It is composed of his demon chakra, and my chakra, a 4-to-1 ratio of it. It vaporizes everything it comes in contact with. It is our strongest attack, but I can only safely use up to 6 tails. Wow, Kara said, how come you can only safely use up to 6 tails? She asked curiously. As to the limitation. The 4-to-1 ratio, Naruto said, I don't have enough chakra to match him once we pass the 6 tails. I am still powerful when I enter that mode, just not enough to use that technique. Kara nodded, understanding now why he couldn't use it. The rest of the flight was done in comfortable silence, which the two enjoyed. They finally arrived at Naruto's house about 2 hours later, landing softly at the back door. Naruto pulled his mask down and kissed Kara lightly on the lips before wishing her a good night. Walking up to his door, he unsealed it and stepped inside. Kara threw one last glance at Naruto's door before heading to her adoptive aunt and uncle's house. After stepping inside the house, Naruto took in a deep breath, hands trembling and body aching. Walking slowly, Naruto headed to his basement and Sake's storage. It was a short walk from the kitchen, but to Naruto it felt like an eternity. Finally reaching his stores, he grabbed a bottle, arm trembling the whole way. Bringing it up to his mouth, he uncorked it with his teeth before spitting across the room. Then he started to drink, gulping it down like a fish, while falling backwards to sit on his butt. Stopping to take a breath, Naruto realized he was halfway through the bottle already. Well, this sucks, he said aloud to no one. How does it suck, kid? Kurama asked, confused as to the blonde's demeanor. Sighing, Naruto spoke to the demon. I just got on friendly terms with Red Britches. After seeing that display of power, I have a feeling I will be back to square one. Plus, Lantern was giving me a sideways glare, and while his helmet was on, I am sure that Dr. Fate guy will be speaking to me again about you. A visit from the golden-wearing helmeted nut. Yeah, I can see that. However, based on the memories Batman said they viewed, I doubt his new opinion will change. Especially because you have all that power, and barely use any of it, Kurama told his host. And while it was sound logic, Naruto didn't agree. That is because they don't know what it does to me, he said, wincing through a wave of pain that struck his body. The effects of using your chakra this time will be minimal because I was able to stock up on natural chakra, and the Baijidama uses my chakra, not the natural chakra. Kurama sighed. He knew the second his host dropped the four-tailed form that he was in pain, but was unable to do anything to help, as his chakra was acidic in nature to the blonde. He was only able to effectively wield it due to the natural chakra from becoming a sage. Even then, it still wreaked havoc on his body when he went further than the cloak. It should be about 2 weeks until your body is healed. Kurama spoke softly to the blonde, trying to rest, as much as you can. Downing the last of the bottle, Naruto nodded before falling asleep on the ground, one half exhausted, and in pain, the other half drunk. Sasuke, Naruto calmly spoke to the dark-haired youth in front of him, whose Sharingan eyes were spinning madly in a different way than Naruto had ever seen. Instead of the times that was common in all the Sharingans, Sasuke's held a star-like quality, something he had attained after he faced his brother Naruto. Naruto, he spoke back, both surrounded by dead bodies, and still burning black fire, the signature of Amaterasu, illuminating the dark cave both found themselves in. This has to be done, Sasuke said with cold indifference. It is the will of the Shinigami, and the Uchiha are his harbingers. I just get the added bonus of destroying that pathetic waste of a village you call home. That isn't you talking, that's Madara speaking. Sasuke, it was your home. It was Sakura's home, the blonde shouted at his once friend, who just glared defiantly back at him, Sharingan spinning wildly, holding nothing but cold fury. My home, he spat out like venom. That place corrupted my brother, turned him from the family, and our mission, a mission handed down by the Shinigami himself. The Uchiha will make the world repent for the trespass of those foolish sages. Your pathetic ancestors, you can't control it, Naruto shouted back at him. The reason the other sages sealed the Jubi into its prison was because it was too powerful. Not even the Sharingan can control it. It will kill you too, to which Sasuke laughed, a cold laugh reminiscent of Orochimaru. I already knew that. Madara told me himself when he implanted Itachi's eyes into me. I told you the Uchiha are the harbingers of the Shinigami's will. We will purge this world for the sins your ancestors brought upon the world when they dared to tread his home. And with no more words needing to be said, Sasuke was engulfed in Susanoo's form, while Naruto sighed before entering his cloak form. Then I will send you back to your god, screaming. Charging a Rasen Shuriken with no aid from clones, Naruto charged his once friend, and the clash of titans began. Sasuke jumped, avoiding the attack, but was caught by the backlash of its release. Naruto's arm was shredded, but healed just as quickly as it was destroyed. Dodging an Amaterasu arrow shot by the Susanoo surrounding Sasuke, Naruto renewed his charge, grabbing 2 kunai, and charging them with wind chakra. Reaching Sasuke in record time, Naruto brought his left arm up attempting a horizontal slash with the blade of wind. However, Susanoo's shield blocked the strike, but it only held for a moment. Pumping more chakra into the blade of wind, Naruto was able to push past the shield, and managed to cut the retreating form of Sasuke. It was a shallow cut across his midsection, but Naruto was still able to penetrate Susanoo. Bringing his right arm up, and charging the blade with the same amount of chakra, Naruto thrust forward at Sasuke, hoping to catch him in the heart, and end this madness once and for all. However, at the last minute, Sasuke used Kawarimi with one of the dead bodies in the area. Naruto kicked the dead body off his wind blade, and turned to face the other shinobi. And that was when he noticed it. Sasuke was running through seals he wasn't familiar with, now standing on top of the Jubi's prison seal. Shit, Naruto thought that must be why he is using Susanoo. He needs his hands free to perform the necessary seals to unleash the Jubi from its prison. End it now, boy, Kurama shouted to the blonde, who nodded. Creating two more unassisted Rasen Shuriken, Naruto hurled them with all his might at Sasuke. And just before impact, he heard the youth shout, Uchiha Jisei Keifu, Jigakuririsu, and Naruto's attacks were blown away by the chakra release. Keeping his eyes open through the gusting winds caused by the release, he managed to see Sasuke devoured by a giant maw before a roar louder than anything he imaged ripped forth from the wolf. With a second roar, the wolf broke free of its prison before making its way out of the dark cave. No, Naruto shouted, sitting up in cold sweat, breathing heavily, eyes dilated, and body trembling. Looking around, he noticed he was in his home, empty bottle of sake next to him. Sighing, he placed his hands on his face, trying to stop the tears from spilling down his face. Bastard, Naruto whispered, the dreams, his memories all flashing before him. What was it this time? Kurama asked, worried for his host. Since arriving in the new world, Naruto hadn't woken up like that. He had his dreams like always. Ever since his childhood, his mind would replay the bad things that had happened to him. But never before had he been awoken like that. After Jubi's release, Naruto said, to which the demon nodded. Go meditate, Kurama told him. It should help with the tremors better than that sake you are reaching for. Naruto sighed, before pulling his shaking hand away from a fresh bottle of sake. Sending a mental nod to Kurama, Naruto got up before making the trek outside to the spot near the back of his fields. It took him longer than normal to reach the spot he used. Sitting down in a comfortable position, he began the slow process of adding natural chakra to his system. It was more painful than normal due to Kurama having to draw in a tad. As well, his chakra system felt like it was on fire. After an hour, Naruto felt the pain subside, and his system returned mostly to normal. Phantom runs of pain were still present, but for the most part the 4-hour meditation session did help. Standing and stretching, Naruto took a look around at his fields. I should probably ask Jonathan-sensei if it's time to harvest, because it looks that way to me. Heading back to his house, Naruto changed out of his shinobi gear, showered. Dressing in loose-fitting washed-out blue jeans, tan work boots, and a black t-shirt, Naruto began the walk to the Kent's farm. This meeting of Cadmus heads is now called to order. Waller spoke up to the gathered men, before turning to Eiling. General Eiling, your report on the events from yesterday. The general nodded before standing. Yesterday at 0500 hours, a mountain climber reported her boyfriend killed by some machine. We dispatched Regiment 1 who engaged the machine after pulling her to safety. It did not end well. The monitors around them showed the army's failed attempt to destroy it. I called in the Justice League both to stop the threat, as well as gather intel on the new member shinobi. I was pleased he joined in the retaliation against what we now know to be an alien weapon. More images of the League fighting the different robots appeared on screen. Many were shocked by his display of powers and the devastation he wrought. The League was losing ground fast, and briefed us on a weapon they had. Once more the monitors showed a video feed of a large energy blast carving a trench around the mesa. The Martian said it was a fusion discharge they could use like a cannon. However, based on what I saw, it is stronger than they would lead us to believe if they can move it to create a trench. Waller narrowed her eyes at the image, not liking the fact that this army of super-powered beings had such a weapon at their disposal. Pointing down on them no less, they used one of their members called the Atom, Dr. Ray Palmer, to try and disable the machine from the inside. He said it was an alien weapon designed to devour and destroy everything in its path, replicate, and move on to the next planet. However, the Atom was unable to destroy it, but this shinobi was. Images switched to the red glowing light coming from the mesa before video feed showed it launching itself into the air. Before, a yellow shield and green shield appeared around the area. They watched as a purple ball of energy blasted into the mesa, traveling down into the earth before exploding with violent force, vaporizing everything in its path. My God, Hamilton cried out at the others, having varying degrees of shock and awe. Ma'am, Eiling said, looking toward Waller. I believe this newcomer to the League is the most powerful asset they currently have. Waller nodded before standing, and pushing a button on her console. Slade, she said when the masked man appeared on her screen. I believe you were already aware of the events from yesterday? Yes, Ms. Waller, Slade said to her, his tone reeking of condescension. I was present for his display of power, and have updated the digital dossier accordingly. I have also included his allies, one Naruto Uzumaki, resident of Smallville, Kansas. Waller glared at the man. That's it? You have had him under surveillance for a month on our dime, and that is all you have managed to retrieve on him? Your reputation is a joke then, Slade. Maybe you are a failed project after all. Slade smirked under his mask. Then I believe this is where our contract ends, Ms. Waller. Good day. The video feed was cut, and Waller growled at the blank screen. That bastard has his own agenda. Any word from our spy, Colonel Flagg? She asked, turning to the leader of Task Force X. No, ma'am, the colonel responded. He has been oddly quiet, as of yesterday, but I will re-establish contact soon enough. Good, she said, pacing the room. We need all the help we can get at this point. Meeting adjourned. Sir, Wintergreen said, drawing Slade's attention away from watching Naruto fight for what felt like the 100th time. Was it wise to antagonize Cadmus? Slade let out a chuckle before turning back to the video of the battle. Wise? Probably not. But it doesn't matter, they have other problems to deal with than me. Nodding, Wintergreen left his friend and boss to his work. Once his trusted ally was gone, Slade spoke out into the darkness. What do you think? Fire erupted next to him before revealing Ares. I think you are going to need my help, Ares said, tone full of amusement. You are not aware of what he contains, are you? Slade just looked at the god next to him before bringing up a very old painting of a demon fox with 9 tails, the Kyubi no Kitsune, demon of rage and hate, given dominion over the earth itself by the Shinigami, able to topple mountains, create tsunamis, earthquakes, and every other natural disaster known to man. A destructive force of nature. My, Ares said, amusement once more in his tone. Your knowledge of the occult surprised me. But the demon is more than that. Ares' comment caught Slade off guard. Turning to face the blonde god, he spoke out slowly, but with enjoyment, enlightening me. Jutsu list. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. Bunshin Daibakuha. Great Exploding Clone. Futon Raisin Shuriken. Spiraling Shuriken. Futon Daitapa. Wind Release. Great Breakthrough. Yuha Sho. Beast Tearing Palm. Baijidama. Tailed Beast Ball. Kawarimi no Jutsu. Replacement Technique. Uchiha Jisei Keifu. Jigakuririsu. Uchiha Sacrificial Unsealing. Hell Release. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.